divine and mysterious immortality. I start my cultivation by adding points as a butcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 476, The Late Stage of Key Training, Penniless. The surging spiritual energy of heaven and earth turned into a hurricane. Wei Hong's body was the eye of the hurricane. As a large amount of spiritual energy of heaven and earth poured into his body, the breath he exuded became stronger and stronger, until the spiritual energy of heaven and earth began to slowly return to calm. After about half an hour, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the bedroom finally calmed down completely. At this time, Wei Hong gently opened his eyes. A ray of light flashed through his eyes, like a white light in an empty room, directly illuminating the night for a moment. If someone saw it, they might be shocked. After opening his eyes, Wei Hong couldn't help but stretch out his hands and move them for a while, and then clenched his fists, as if feeling his current strength. After a while, Wei Hong finally couldn't help laughing with joy. Haha, I broke through, and finally broke through to the late stage of key training. Is this the strength of the 7th level of key training? It's really much better than the 6th level of key training. Not bad, not bad, ha ha ha. The sound of crazy laughter filled the entire courtyard, and then it was isolated by the formation. With the help of the powerful medicinal power of the 3 key enhancing pills, Wei Hong successfully completed the breakthrough from the middle stage of key training to the late stage of key training. And he could clearly feel that after breaking through to the 7th level of key training, not only did his spiritual power double, but his own strength directly soared by at least 2 times, which was simply incomparable with the 6th level of key training. It is no wonder that the middle stage of key training is generally difficult to compete with the late stage of key training. The difference in strength is indeed huge. Feeling his soaring strength, Wei Hong couldn't help laughing again. After investing so many resources, I finally broke through to the late stage of key training. It's worth my hard work to refine the light spirit pill. Speaking of the light spirit pill, he couldn't help but think of the evaluation of him by Li Yuanting, an outer disciple of Qingyuan sect. HMPH, you said I'm useless. Wei Hong's face showed a trace of sneer, and then he said disdainfully, he is just an outer disciple of Qingyuan sect, and he dares to talk nonsense about my future and assert that I will not make any progress. I don't know how he will react when he learns that I have broken through to the late stage of key training. At the beginning, Li Yuanting seemed to have concluded that Wei Hong, who is entangled with Dan poison, would definitely stop in his cultivation. But now Wei Hong has broken through this shackle and successfully promoted to the 7th level of key training. Although he has never met Li Yuanting, Wei Hong's breakthrough has slapped Li Yuanting in the face invisibly. If Li Yuanting knew the news of Wei Hong's breakthrough, how wonderful the expression on his face would be. However, Wei Hong was just imagining it with a little bit of evil taste in his heart. There was really no need to offend Li Yuanting because of this. At this moment, he couldn't help but think, it's better not to meet Li Yuanting if possible, so that he won't ask me how to get rid of the poison. I don't want him to know that I have learned to refine Qingling Pill. It is precisely because of the blessing of the system and vitality points that Wei Hong knows how difficult it is for a cultivator to learn alchemy from scratch and then be able to refine a first-level middle-grade Qingling Pill. This is not something that can be achieved in a year or 2. If there is no vitality point, he may not even reach the entry level. So how can he successfully refine Qingling Pill in a few months? If Li Yuanting knew about this, it would probably cause unnecessary trouble. So Wei Hong still adheres to the principle of keeping a low profile and does not plan to make a big fuss. Of course, he will continue to refine Qingling Pill in the future, not for anything else, just to earn spirit stones. Treasure Pavilion sells a bottle of Qingling Pill for 500 lingxi. If he sells the Qingling Pill he made for only 400 or 450 lingxi, Treasure Pavilion will probably buy it without hesitation. In this way, he has one more way to earn lingxi. Key training level 7, you are more or less a figure in this market, right? I see that some elders of small immortal cultivation families have not reached key training level 7. At this time, Wei Hong has reached the late stage of key training level 7. In this Qingyuan mountain market, he is definitely a not-so-small figure. He can stand firm and even be qualified to create his own immortal cultivation family. You know, The patriarchs of small immortal cultivation families like Chen, Wang and Jia are also in the late stage of key training. In short, after entering the late stage of key training, Wei Hong's status and position have become different, at least much higher than before. Thinking of this, Wei Hong felt very comfortable. I don't have to be so cautious all the time. Really, strength is the foundation and confidence of everything. Wei Hong let out a sigh of relief, and his mentality changed a little. Now, with his 7th level key training, as long as he doesn't encounter a cultivator in the foundation building period, even if he encounters a robber cultivator when he goes out, he can definitely escape if he can't beat him. Moreover, his true strength is much stronger than his own cultivation. It would be wrong to look at Wei Hong based on his cultivation alone. However, after a while of joy, Wei Hong's face became calm again. Then he suddenly thought that he had broken through to the late stage of key training. Wouldn't he have to buy and learn the corresponding first-level top-grade spells, talismans, formations, etc.? Alice, this breakthrough is a breakthrough, but the troubles after the breakthrough are not small. When Wei Hong thought of the prices of those first-level top-grade spells and talismans, he couldn't help but have a headache. You know, no matter it is spells or talismans, or formations and pill recipes, after these things are upgraded from first-class medium quality to first-class high quality, the prices will double. In short, the prices of first-class high-quality items are much more expensive than first-class medium-quality items. Take the first-class medium-quality talismans for example. The normal market price of the Fireball talisman is 2 spirit stones plus 50 broken spirits. The Blazing Sun talisman is more expensive, selling for 4 spirit stones per piece. However, if it is a first-class high-quality evil-killing talisman, the price will definitely not be lower than 8 spirit stones. Some shops even sell it for 10 spirit stones per piece, which is at least twice as expensive as the first-class medium-quality talismans. In this way, if Wei Hong needs to buy various first-class high-quality spells, talismans, formations and pill recipes, the spirit stones he needs are definitely a very large number. If he relies solely on the profits of the Spirit Talisman Pavilion, it may take 2 or 3 years to buy everything he wants. Moreover, his strength has greatly increased, and his flying sword and other magical instruments also need to be updated, otherwise he will not be able to exert his true strength, so this will require a large amount of spirit stones. Alice. Wei Hong smiled helplessly when he thought of this, and then shook his head and said, "It's too difficult. It seems that I can't stop drawing talismans. Perhaps I should reveal a little bit to Sukin." Chapter 477, Coming to the Fore. 3 days later, Talisman Workshop. After spending 3 days to consolidate his cultivation after the breakthrough, Wei Hong was ready to start implementing his plan. Of course, this so-called plan was actually just a way for him to show Sukin a little bit of his ability to draw talismans. There was no other way. Because of the refining of the light spirit pill, his wealth had shrunk by more than half, so that he couldn't even afford to buy some first-level top-grade spells. After thinking about it, Wei Hong could only think of a way to start with drawing talismans, which was also the best way to make money he could find at present, so he was ready to show Sukin a little bit of the news that he could draw the evil-killing talisman. The reason why Wei Hong felt that drawing talismans was the best way to make money was that when he stayed in the Talisman Workshop to draw talismans, all the materials consumed were provided by the Talisman Workshop, and he didn't need to invest any cost himself. Most importantly, he could intercept and deduct part of the talismans, and these intercepted talismans would become his private property. In this way, his speed of accumulating spirit stones would naturally be greatly improved. After arriving at the Talisman Workshop in the morning, Wei Hong went straight to the talisman drawing room. He first drew more than 10 exorcism talismans and scorching sun talismans to warm up his hands, and then took a stack of first-grade top-grade talisman skins and placed them in the center of the jade table. He picked up the talisman pen and dipped it in the spiritual ink, and then he began to draw the evil-killing talisman. After being promoted to the 7th level of key training, as he had expected before, his spiritual power was much stronger, and coupled with the improvement of his realm, the success rate of drawing the evil-killing talisman directly soared to 40%. It took him 2 incense sticks of time to successfully draw 2 evil-killing talismans. After drawing 2 evil-killing talismans, he stopped, and then put all the remaining blank talisman skins into his storage bag. Because Wei Hong did not draw many evil-killing talismans in the past, Sukin only provided him with 10 first-grade top-grade talisman skins every day. Now that he had handed in 2 evil killing talismans, he was creating the illusion that his success rate in drawing evil killing talismans had reached 20%. In this way, the remaining blank talisman skins would naturally fall into his pocket. This was just the first step that Wei Hong had taken. I believe that Sukin would definitely take the initiative to talk to him in a few days. A 20% success rate should also allow Sukin to increase his investment, right? Wei Hong couldn't help but laugh when he thought of Sukin's reaction after he learned that he had handed in the evil killing talisman. You know, the crisis of the strange fog has not ended yet. Once Wei Hong can stably draw dozens of evil killing talismans every month, it is conceivable that the containment effect on the strange fog will be great. With Sukin's intelligence, he will definitely win over Wei Hong, a first-class top-grade talisman painter. Thinking of this, Wei Hong was full of confidence and devoted himself to the work of drawing talismans. On this day, he submitted 2 more evil killing talismans. The same was true on the second day, and on the third and fourth days, he still submitted 2 more evil killing talismans every day. So on the 5th day, Sukin finally couldn't sit still. On the morning of the 5th day, Wei Hong had just arrived at the talisman workshop. A servant seemed to have been waiting at the door for a long time. When he saw him, his eyes immediately lit up. "Master Lin, the steward wants to see you. Please go with me." The servant hurriedly stepped forward and said to Wei Hong. Wei Hong thought that he was finally here, so he nodded calmly and said, "Okay, lead the way." "Okay." The servant led the way in front, and Wei Hong followed behind all the way to the courtyard where Sukin was. Soon, Wei Hong saw Sukin waiting in the courtyard. "Lin, meet Steward Su." After seeing Sukin, Wei Hong took the lead to greet him. Sukin smiled and gestured, "Hey, fellow Taoist Lin, you don't have to be polite. Sit down, sit down. Haha, come on, this is the spiritual tea I just brewed, called Ice Snow Cloud Tea, worth 3 spiritual stones and 1 tael. It's because you're here, fellow Taoist Lin, otherwise I wouldn't be willing to drink it myself." Sukin was very enthusiastic and familiar at this time. After Wei Hong sat down, he put a cup of steaming hot tea in front of him. Wei Hong looked down and saw that although the cup of tea was just brewed and looked steaming, the heat rose up and floated above the tea like clouds, and it took a long time to slowly dissipate. He picked up the teacup and took a sip gently. First, the warm tea went down his throat, then he felt a hint of ice and snow-like coolness rising up, and finally a hint of sweetness, which made people linger. Tisk. Wei Hong put down the teacup and couldn't help but praise, "Good tea, Ice Snow Cloud Tea, good name, good tea too, haha, thank you Manager Su, I'm really flattered." "Hey, Brother Lin, you're being polite." Sukin waved his hand indifferently, and then said, "No matter how good the tea is, it's for drinking. The person who tastes the tea is much more important than the tea leaves, Brother Lin, don't you think so?" As he said that, Sukin looked at Wei Hong with a smile. Wei Hong's face was indifferent, as if he didn't understand Sukin's meaning. He just sipped the tea slowly, and didn't ask Sukin why he came here. Sukin waited for a while but Wei Hong didn't speak up. A trace of helplessness flashed across his face. Then he looked at Wei Hong and said, "Fellow Taoist Lin, you have handed in 2 evil killing talismans every day these days, but has the success rate of drawing the evil killing talismans increased?" "Here it comes," Wei Hong said secretly, and then smiled and replied, "Indeed, Lin's cultivation has made a small breakthrough during this period, and the success rate of drawing the evil killing talismans has also increased to about 20%, so I drew 2 evil killing talismans every day in the past few days." This answer made Sukin's eyes light up instantly. "Oh? Fellow Taoist Lin's cultivation has made a breakthrough? Has it broken through to the 7th level of key training?" Sukin asked immediately. Compared with the 20% success rate of drawing the evil killing talisman, Wei Hong's breakthrough in cultivation is more concerned by Sukin. Because as early as when he recruited Wei Hong, he already knew that Wei Hong's cultivation was at the 6th level of key training. Since he said that his cultivation had a breakthrough, it could only be that he had broken through to the 7th level of key training. In this way, doesn't it mean that Wei Hong has also become a late-stage cultivator like him? For a moment, Sukin's eyes changed slightly when he looked at Wei Hong. Wei Hong smiled faintly and nodded, saying modestly, "Lin did break through to the 7th level of key training not long ago, but it is still far behind Manager Su. I will need more guidance from Manager Su in the future." "Hey, Brother Lin, You are too modest. I don't deserve your guidance. Haha, we need to communicate more in the future. The smile on Su Qin's face became more kind, and his attitude towards Wei Hong changed from being superior to him to treating him as an equal. Chapter 478 What a treat! The status of late-stage cultivators is completely different from that of mid-stage cultivators. Su Qin himself is also at the 7th level of key training. Seeing that Wei Hong has also broken through to the 7th level of key training, he naturally dares not be arrogant. Moreover, Wei Hong can now draw first-class top-grade evil-killing talisman, which is a hot commodity in the talisman workshop. He must have a good relationship with him. After listening to Su Qin's words, Wei Hong secretly sighed in his heart. This breakthrough to the late stage of key training has indeed improved his status and position a lot. If it was when he was at the 6th level of key training, Su Qin would never say such words to him. At most, he would show a polite appearance. Su Qin's attitude now was exactly what Wei Hong wanted. He smiled and nodded and said, "Haha, of course. I'd love to have more exchanges with Manager Su." Su Qin smiled and said a few humble words, then said, "Friend Lin, since you are already able to draw the demon-slaying talisman, please work harder in the future and draw as many demon-slaying talismans as possible every day. I'm sure you also know that the strange fog has not really dissipated yet. We need demon-slaying talismans, and the more the better." An inexplicable light flashed in Wei Hong's eyes, and he responded with a heavy face, "Of course, drawing talismans is Lin's task. I would naturally like to do my part to dispel the strange fog. But the workshop only provides 10 first-grade top-quality talisman skins every day, and my success rate in drawing the demon-slaying talisman is only 20% at most, so Lin is also powerless. It is already the limit that I can hand in 2 demon-slaying talismans every day." It was not until this time that Wei Hong exposed his true purpose. For no other reason, just to let Su Qin increase the supply of talisman skins and spiritual ink for him. Moreover, he retreated to advance, without making any demands, just laying out the difficulties and talking about them. In this way, I believe Su Qin will definitely understand. Sure enough, Su Qin made the decision without hesitation after hearing this. This is a simple matter. Even if fellow Taoist Lin doesn't say it, I will do it. Don't worry, from today onwards, the number of first-grade high-quality talisman skins provided by fellow Taoist Lin's talisman painting room will be doubled. If it is not enough, it can be increased. What do you think, fellow Taoist Lin? Before, it was provided 10 pieces per day, and now it will be doubled, that is, 20 pieces per day. Although 20 pieces of high-quality talisman skins may not seem like a lot, Wei Hong is already very satisfied. Because each first-grade high-quality talisman skin is worth 1 spiritual stone, and 20 pieces are 20 spiritual stones. If you add the first-grade middle and lower-quality talisman skins, then in a month, the talisman skins invested alone are worth 700 or 800 spiritual stones, and this is the price before the strange fog broke out. I am afraid that it has increased several times now, right? If it weren't for the fact that Wei Hong's Yuxi talismans were of good quality and had a relatively low success rate, Su Qin would never have given him such great support. Therefore, providing 20 first-grade superior talisman skins every day was already a lot. Wei Hong nodded and agreed, "No problem, since Manager Su is so straightforward, I will naturally do my best to draw as many Yuxi talismans as possible, but I can't guarantee how many I can succeed." Haha, of course. After getting Wei Hong's response, Su Qin also laughed heartily and said, "I believe in fellow Taoist Lin. You will definitely not disappoint me, haha." In this way, the two of them reached an agreement. The reality was just as Wei Hong expected. After learning about the output of his Yuxi talismans, Su Qin naturally increased the supply of talisman skins to him, which was exactly what Wei Hong wanted. This result was also what he wanted to see the most. After saying goodbye to Su Qin, Wei Hong returned to the talisman drawing room and began to work hard on drawing talismans. Now he was not only drawing talismans to complete the task, but also to accumulate wealth for himself, so he worked harder and more actively than ever before, and there was no need to urge him. However, Su Qin had no idea that Wei Hong's success rate in drawing the demon-slaying talisman was not 20%, but 40%, which was a huge difference. Take the current supply as an example. The talisman-making workshop provides Wei Hong with 20 first-grade top-grade talisman skins every day. According to his actual success rate, He can produce at least 8 finished demon-slaying talismans after drawing 20 top-grade talisman skins, and sometimes he may produce 9 or even 10. The success rate he reported to Sukin was 20%, which means that he only needs to hand in 4 demon-slaying talismans every day to complete the task. Even if he deducts a little and only hands in 3 every day, it is enough to shut Sukin up. In this way, Wei Hong can deduct at least 4 demon-slaying talismans every day. The price of a first-grade top-grade talisman is generally between 5 and 8 spirit stones, and the market price of the demon-slaying talisman is exactly 8 spirit stones. If calculated in this way, he can deduct at least 120 evil-killing talismans in a month, and each one is calculated at 8 spirit stones, so the total price is 960 spirit stones. Just deducting the evil-killing talismans can make a profit of about 1,000 spirit stones in a month. And this is the price before the strange fog broke out. I am afraid that he can make several thousand now, right? Such huge profits, anyone would be crazy about it. This is why Wei Hong did not hesitate to expose some of his abilities to get Sukin to support him strongly. Of course, only Wei Hong can do such a thing. It is absolutely impossible for others to learn from him. This can also be called an exclusive way. According to such a plan, he can accumulate talismans worth thousands of spirit stones in just half a year. When the time comes, he can find a place to exchange all those talismans for spirit stones, and naturally he can buy the spells and instruments he needs. I can save up talismans worth thousands of spirit stones in a month. This is much more profitable than opening a shop. Now I hope the strange fog will not be dispelled so quickly. Wei Hong couldn't help but secretly rejoice when he thought that he had found such a good way to make money. This is also due to the emergence of strange fog. If the strange fog crisis had not been eliminated and even became more and more serious, how could Wei Hong get such a large supply of talisman skins from the talisman workshop? Therefore, for his own interests, Wei Hong hoped that the strange fog would become more serious, so that he could stay in the talisman workshop to draw the evil-killing talisman. As the saying goes, there is supply only when there is demand. If there is no strange fog, wouldn't the evil-killing talisman I drew be useless? Wei Hong didn't think that this idea was vicious. After all, going to the front line to dispel the strange fog was also voluntary, and they all went there for the generous rewards, so the death of those cultivators had nothing to do with him. Draw talismans, draw talismans. As soon as I accumulate enough talismans, I can replace my spells and magic tools. With this idea in mind, Wei Hong began to devote himself to the cause of drawing talismans. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479 Black Market. Half a year later, the crisis of the strange fog has not been resolved, but the evil-killing talisman provided by Wei Hong still has a great effect. A large number of strange things have died tragically under the terrible power of the evil-killing talisman, and the spread of the strange fog has been curbed. However, the strange fog has not been truly dispelled, and King Aiman has been racking its brains for this matter. Wei Hong and others who can draw the evil-killing talisman are naturally more valued by King Aiman. Sukin provides Wei Hong with 20 first-grade top-grade talisman skins every day, and the first-grade middle and lower-grade talisman skins are unlimited. In this way, Wei Hong's needs are greatly satisfied. He first draws the evil-killing talisman every day, and after consuming all the 20 first-grade top-grade talisman skins, he will draw other talismans. This is the work he has been repeating every day for half a year. In addition to handing over 4 evil-killing talismans to the talisman workshop every day, the number of other exorcism talismans and scorching sun talismans has decreased compared to the past. This is because all the other talismans were withheld by him and then put into his own pocket. Over the past 6 months, Wei Hong secretly seized a large number of talismans. Perhaps even he himself could not count the exact number. He only knew that this batch of talismans was worth at least 6,000 spirit stones. It was precisely because of this that after accumulating a large number of talismans in the storage bag, Wei Hong's mind began to stir, and he was eager to transform these talismans into spirit stones, and then into his own combat power. So, he began to secretly inquire about the existence of the black market. In fact, there has always been a black market in the Kingayan Mountain Market. This kind of place that develops in secret must not be seen in the light on weekdays, but as long as you deliberately inquire, you can also know its existence. Wei Hong also inquired about it from a familiar shopkeeper, and also learned that a small auction would be held in the black market soon. For this reason, he specially prepared for several days. At noon 3 days later, Wei Hong quietly left the market. He was wearing a black robe with a hood, and he disguised himself as a fierce and ferocious man, and used the breath-retaining technique to restrain his breath. I believe that if it weren't for the foundation-building cultivators using their spiritual sense to check, they would never find anything unusual. Wei Hong naturally couldn't use his original appearance when he went to the black market. Although he had never been to the black market, he could imagine that most of the cultivators who went to the black market would definitely choose to hide their identities, which was also very normal. Therefore, Wei Hong's actions would definitely not attract attention in the black market. After leaving the market, he walked slowly to the south. The black market was located about 20 miles south of the market, not far from the market. Along the way, Wei Hong had always been extremely vigilant. Fortunately, there was no accident, and soon he arrived at the black market. Wei Hong looked up and saw a hill not far ahead. There were not many plants on the hill, but rocks, which looked bare. Is this the entrance to the black market? Wei Hong couldn't help but wonder when he saw this scene. This place was really inconspicuous, but the black market was still quite surprising to Wei Hong. He looked around with a puzzled look and soon found something wrong. Huh? Is this a formation? Wei Hong's eyes lit up, and after hesitating for a while, he walked over decisively. Because he found a slight formation fluctuation flashed at the foot of the hill, and he looked closer and found that the whole hill was indeed covered by the formation. However, after a careful observation, he found that this was actually just a simple concealing formation. The purpose should be to block the entrance to the black market, but people who have been to the black market once would not care about this formation. So he didn't hesitate and stepped into the area covered by the formation. Sure enough, after taking a step, the scene in his eyes suddenly changed. The hill was still the same hill, but there were 2 more gray stone houses at the foot of the hill, and 2 guards stood in front of the stone houses. Hey, it's true. Seeing this scene, Wei Hong immediately walked towards the stone house. As he approached, his eyes suddenly narrowed. 7th level of key training? Tisk. The power behind this black market is really powerful. The 2 guards were both at the 7th level of key training, which surprised Wei Hong, who was here for the first time. However, he did not show any strange color on his face, and walked over very calmly. Before the 2 guards asked, he showed the token recommended by an acquaintance. Seeing the token, the 2 guards did not have any intention of asking, and opened the stone door with a raised hand, revealing a stone staircase passage that went down diagonally. It's really underground, it's worthy of being a black market. Wei Hong's eyes flashed, and he walked down the passage without hesitation. After walking for about half an instant of time, the stone steps finally came to the end. At the end was still a stone door, but there was a stone table in front of the door, and a white-haired old man was sitting behind the table. Seeing Wei Hong appear, the white-haired old man stood up and said with a smile, "Welcome to this Taoist friend. May I ask if you are going to buy or sell items in the black market, or to attend the auction in 2 hours? Oh? Is there any difference?" Wei Hong controlled his voice to a slightly hoarse state and asked in a muffled voice. "Taoist friend, is this your first time here?" The white-haired old man smiled and glanced at Wei Hong. Wei Hong frowned slightly and said slightly displeased, "How did you tell?" "Haha, Taoist friend, don't blame me. I have been in this black market for more than 10 years. I can still tell whether it is your first time here. Besides, Taoist friends who have been here once will not ask this question." The white-haired old man explained as usual. Wei Hong's face was slightly relieved, and then he said, "So that's the case. Then I will attend the auction." Since he came to this black market, how could he not attend the most important auction? The white-haired old man seemed to have anticipated Wei Hong's choice. He smiled and said, "Okay, since you want to participate in the auction later, please pay a deposit of 100 spirit stones. After the auction, all the deposit will be returned to you." Wei Hong frowned slightly, but did not say much. Instead, he took out 100 spirit stones and threw them to the white-haired old man, because he had heard of this rule a long time ago, and he also understood that this was the black market screening potential customers. After all, If there was no threshold for the auction, wouldn't everyone be able to participate? Therefore, Wei Hong could understand this approach, and this was just a deposit, which would be returned later, so he naturally didn't need to dwell on it. Chapter 480 Diamond Dust. Okay, this is the identity token for you to attend the auction, please take it. Seeing Wei Hong being so straightforward, the smile on the white-haired old man's face became more obvious. He also quickly made the identity token for Wei Hong and handed it over. Wei Hong took it and looked at it. There was only a black word written on the front of the token, and the number 136 was written on the back. It was unknown whether he was the 136th cultivator who wanted to attend the auction. Please come in, fellow Taoist. The white-haired old man stretched out his hand and flicked it, and the stone door next to him opened with a bang. Wei Hong nodded at him and walked in directly. After crossing the stone door, the scene in front of Wei Hong suddenly changed. A scene that was expected, but unexpected, appeared directly in his sight. He looked around, as if he had returned to the market. Behind the stone gate was an extremely wide area, and opposite the stone gate was a street that was neither long nor short. There were more than 10 stone houses on both sides of the street, and people came in and out of each stone house from time to time. Wei Hong also saw that there was a large open space behind the street, where many stalls were set up, and many stall owners were either wearing hoods to cover their faces like him or wearing various strange masks, obviously to hide their true identities. Not far away at the end of the other side of the street, there was a 2-story building, but it was a little far away, so Wei Hong couldn't see the building clearly for the time being. He thought about it, and first walked over to the stall area. Wei Hong really wanted to know what the difference was between setting up a stall in the black market and setting up a stall in the market. Key replenishing pills, nourishing essence pills, red sun ganoderma, dragon blood orchid, 100-year-old iron wood, diamond sand, and first-class flying swords and spirit shields. Walking along the way, Wei Hong looked at more than 10 stalls in a row. It was not until then that he truly understood the difference between setting up stalls in the black market and setting up stalls in the market. In this black market, all the things that can be sold are good things. The worst ones are of the first level middle grade, and most of them are of the first level upper grade and the first level top grade. There are even a lot of second level treasures. These include elixirs, spiritual flowers and herbs, mineral materials, magic tools and spells, etc. As long as Wei Hong can think of something, he can basically find it here, which is simply dazzling. At the same time, he was very happy, because this meant that his trip would not be in vain, and he would definitely be able to buy everything he wanted. When Wei Hong thought of this, he became excited. Awesome, it's worthy of being a black market. It really opened my eyes. This time it really wasn't in vain. Wei Hong's mouth was faintly smiling. But he also understood that the black market allowed these people to set up stalls here, and the stall fees must be high. Otherwise those stall owners would not take such a big risk to sell all kinds of good things. The advantage is that no one will question your identity, and you don't have to worry about being recognized when you leave the black market. This is definitely a good place for many monks who want to deal with stolen goods. This should be the reason why the black market has existed for so long. After figuring this out, Wei Hong walked towards the street. When he came to the street, he saw that the stone houses on both sides of the street were all kinds of shops, selling everything, but these shops did not have specific names, but different patterns were carved on the stone walls at the door of the shops. Wei Hong carefully observed for a while and understood the meaning of these patterns. For example, the stone house on his left had a jade bottle carved on the outside. He went in and asked, and it turned out that it was selling elixirs. The ones with flying sword patterns should sell things like magic tools. By analogy, Wei Hong naturally understood what these shops were doing. Hey, there is no store name. Is it to distinguish it from the shops on the ground? Wei Hong's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light, but he didn't think much about it. He looked around and found a stone house with a talisman pattern carved on the door and walked in. There was no servant in the stone house, but only a middle-aged man in a gray robe standing behind the counter, thinking about something. Seeing Wei Hong enter the store, the gray-robed man immediately smiled and said, "Dao, please take a look. You can tell me what you want to buy or sell." Wei Hong nodded slightly and began to look around the store. After looking for a while, he found that the price of the talismans here was 10% to 20% higher than the market price, and they were all fine products, mostly talismans of the first grade or higher, and there were also some second grade ones. Seeing this, Wei Hong already had an idea in mind. He walked to the counter, looked at the gray-robed man and asked, "Dao, do you accept talismans here?" "Talismans? Of course, I do. I wonder what kind of talismans you want to sell." The gray-robed man nodded first, and then asked, "By the way, what is your name?" "My name is Bai Ming. My surname is Qin." Wei Hong only said one surname. The gray-robed man didn't take it seriously, but continued to greet him. "Haha, it turns out to be fellow Taoist Qin. What kind of talismans do you want to sell? Can you show them to me first?" "Sure." Wei Hong nodded, and directly took out a stack of evil-killing talismans and put them on the counter. The gray-robed man Bai Ming gently picked up the talisman on the top, and then carefully observed it for a moment. "Well, not bad. The quality of this evil-killing talisman is very good." Bai Ming nodded and commented, and then asked Wei Hong, "Fellow Taoist Qin, I wonder how many evil-killing talismans you have in your hand that you want to sell." Bai Ming's implication was that if it was just a few talismans you took out, it would not be enough. Wei Hong did not respond, but asked, "Name a price. How much do you want?" "No problem." Bai Ming put down the talisman, smiled and said, "Don't worry, Taoist friend, I will never cheat you, whether you are a new customer or a familiar customer. I will buy this top-grade evil-killing talisman at the price of 21 spiritual stones." 21 spiritual stones. Wei Hong frowned even deeper. He couldn't help but said, "Now that the strange fog is so serious, the price has increased 3 times compared to before." "Haha, Taoist friend Qin, this is the black market, not the market above," Bai Ming explained with a smile. Wei Hong was silent for a moment. In fact, he knew in his heart that no matter what it was, the purchase price of the black market would definitely be much lower than that outside, and the selling price would be much higher. This in and out would naturally make a high profit. The reason why the black market is because of this. This is also the reason why so many people are willing to come to the black market to sell stolen goods. Not only is it easy to sell stolen goods, but they will not be targeted by others, so the price is naturally lower. Wei Hong had just looked around carefully and had an idea in mind. Wei Hong was silent for a while, and suddenly said, "If the quantity is large, can the price be increased a little bit?" Chapter 481 Get Rich Overnight. A large number. How many evil-killing talismans do you have, fellow Taoist? The gray-robed man Bai Ming's eyes lit up and he immediately asked. Wei Hong glanced at Bai Ming and uttered a number, 300. In fact, he had more than 750 evil-killing talismans in his hand, but he did not choose to sell them all, but kept more than half as a backup, and the same was true for other talismans. Bai Ming was also shocked by this number and took a breath of cold air. He had never met someone who came to sell talismans for hundreds of pieces. Moreover, this is a first-class talisman, not an ordinary one, so Bai Ming's face immediately showed excitement. He said without thinking, "Fellow Taoist Qin, if you really have 300 evil-killing talismans in your hand, and they are all of this quality, then Bai is willing to buy them at the price of 23 spirit stones each. How about it? Is this price sincere enough?" Fellow Taoist Qin, don't worry, except for Bai, no other store in the entire black market will give a higher price. As if he was afraid that Wei Hong would not sell it to him, Bai Ming made a solemn promise. Wei Hong narrowed his eyes and began to ponder in his heart. After a while, in Bai Ming's expectant eyes, Wei Hong nodded and said, "Okay, then I will sell it at the price that fellow Taoist Bai said." In fact, Wei Hong knew in his heart that this price was not low. If he hadn't taken out 300 evil-killing talismans at once, I believe Bai Ming would never let it go. When Bai Ming heard this, he immediately laughed and said, "Haha, good, brother Qin is really straightforward." Wei Hong was also very straightforward. After deciding to sell, he immediately took out a large stack of evil-killing talismans from his storage bag, and then neatly placed them on the counter, one stack next to another, looking very eye-catching. "Brother Bai, count them." Wei Hong gestured. "Okay, then I'm sorry." Bai Ming nodded to Wei Hong and immediately began to count the number of evil-killing talismans. There were hundreds of evil-killing talismans, and Bai Ming didn't dare to be careless at all. If he didn't count the number himself, he would never trade. After a full stick of incense, Bai Ming finally finished counting. "Not bad, the number is just right, brother Qin is really a trustworthy person." Bai Ming breathed a sigh of relief, and then smiled and praised. Wei Hong smiled secretly in his heart, and said calmly, Since the quantity is correct, let's trade. Okay, fellow Taoist kin, wait a moment. Bai Ming would not refuse. He asked Wei Hong to wait for a moment, then took out dozens of spirit stones from his storage bag and pushed them towards Wei Hong. Fellow Taoist kin, according to the price I mentioned before, 300 evil-killing talismans are worth a total of 6,900 spirit stones. Here are 69 medium-grade spirit stones. Fellow Taoist kin, can you count them? Wei Hong was even more impolite. After all, it was about thousands of spirit stones, so he couldn't be careless at all. Therefore, he counted them carefully, and only after finding that there was no problem did he put all the spirit stones into the storage bag. Speaking of which, this was the first time that Wei Hong had received so many medium-grade spirit stones. According to the exchange rate in the world of immortal cultivation, 100 low-grade spirit stones can be exchanged for 1 medium-grade spirit stone, and 100 medium-grade spirit stones can be exchanged for 1 high-grade spirit stone. The spirit stones that Wei Hong and his friends usually refer to are basically low-grade spirit stones. Wei Hong had seen the middle-grade spirit stone before. The volume of the middle-grade spirit stone was slightly larger than that of the lower-grade spirit stone, and the spiritual energy contained in it was also much richer, so he would definitely not make a mistake. After the transaction was completed, the smile on Bai Ming's face became much more enthusiastic. At this time, Wei Hong suddenly asked, "Fellow Taoist Bai, do you have a first-grade upper-grade talisman for sale?" First-grade upper-grade talisman. Bai Ming was slightly startled, and immediately said excitedly, "Yes, of course there is. Which kind of talisman does fellow Taoist kin want? Can you take them all out for kin to see? Kin wants to buy a few more." Wei Hong made his request. Wei Hong did not expect that he just asked casually, but there were really talismans for sale here. This time, even he could not help but be a little surprised, but the words had already been asked, so he could only take a look first, and if it was suitable, he could buy some. "Of course, fellow Taoist kin, please wait." Bai Ming nodded and immediately started looking for it on the counter. After a while, Bai Ming placed more than 10 jade slips on the counter and said to Wei Hong, "Fellow Taoist kin, all my first-grade high-quality talismans are here, take a look for yourself." Although this place is a place for buying and selling elixirs, it also sells various talismans. It must be said that the business of this black market shop is indeed a bit complicated. Wei Hong did not say anything, but directly picked up a jade slip and stuck it on his forehead. After a while, he put down the first jade slip, and immediately picked up another jade slip and continued to stick it on his forehead to check, and kept repeating this action until he checked all the more than 10 jade slips. Fire Dragon Talisman, Rock Shield Talisman, Earth Escape Talisman, Water Prison Talisman. The names of more than 10 talismans kept flashing in Wei Hong's mind. He did not hesitate at all and asked directly, "Fellow Taoist Bai, I wonder what the price of these talismans is." "Well, this Fire Dragon Talisman is 130 spirit stones, the Rock Shield Talisman is 150 spirit stones, and the Earth Escape Talisman is 140 spirit stones." Bai Ming quoted the prices of more than 10 talismans very skillfully. Wei Hong roughly calculated, and then decisively chose 8 talismans, namely the Fire Dragon Talisman, Rock Shield Talisman, Earth Escape Talisman, Water Prison Talisman, Wood Thunder Talisman, Ice Spear Talisman, Storm Talisman, and Golden Light Talisman. These 8 talismans include means of attack, defense, escape, and control, which can be said to be very complete. For this, he paid more than 900 spirit stones, spending almost 1/5 of the large amount of spirit stones he had just received. Then, Wei Hong simply asked about the first-level top-grade pill formula. Bai Ming was already very happy at this time. He didn't expect that Wei Hong, a customer, would bring him such a large amount of business. So he took out all the first-level top-grade pill formulas very enthusiastically and let Wei Hong choose. Wei Hong carefully selected 3 types from them, namely Key Replenishing Pill, Calming Pill, and Nourishing Essence Pill. Key Replenishing Pill is a pill for improving cultivation, and it is most suitable for use in the later stage of key training. Calming Pill is a pill that can calm the soul and slowly increase the strength of the soul. As for the last Yangjing Pill, this is a magical medicine that has miraculous effects on both internal and external injuries. No matter how serious the internal and external injuries are, as long as you take 1 pill of this medicine, even if you can't bring the dead back to life and heal the injuries immediately, it can greatly reduce the injuries and save your life. These 3 pill recipes were carefully selected by Wei Hong, and they all have a great effect on him. Now that he has plenty of spiritual stones on hand, he will naturally go crazy buying. Chapter 482 Auction. Spiritual stones are hard to earn, but they are not easy to spend. After walking out of the stone house, Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh. Although he earned 5,000 spiritual stones from selling talismans to Bai Ming, he spent more than 1,000 on talisman techniques and pill recipes. It felt like he was spending money like water, which made Wei Hong sigh. You know, it took him half a year to accumulate that batch of talismans, but it took less than a quarter of an hour to buy talismans and pill recipes, and he spent more than 1,000 spiritual stones. Fortunately, Wei Hong came with a mentality of converting spiritual stones into positive combat power, and he didn't feel much pain about spending money. As long as he could find something suitable for him, such as spells, talismans, pill recipes, formations and magic tools, etc., and the price was not too outrageous, he would choose to buy it without hesitation. With this in mind, Wei Hong walked into several other shops. This time, he not only sold the large number of exorcism talismans and scorching sun talismans he had accumulated, and exchanged them for more than 1,000 spirit stones, but also found several things he wanted to buy in several shops, including 5 first-grade top-grade spells and a first-grade top-grade robe. For this, he spent thousands of spirit stones again. But the 5 first-grade top-grade spells made Wei Hong feel that it was worth it. As long as he learned them and maxed them out to the limit, his combat power would soar again. By then, as long as he did not encounter a foundation-building cultivator, he would basically not be in any danger of life. As for the first-grade top-grade robe, it was woven from ice spirit silk grass, which could ward off water and fire, keep warm in winter and cool in summer. There was a layer of cleaning technique engraved on the surface, so he could clean the robe himself every day. At the same time, the defense was not bad. At least Wei Hong was satisfied. After strolling around again, he began to walk towards the 2-story building on the other side of the street. He had already bought what he should buy. The others were either unsuitable or too expensive, so Wei Hong did not continue to wander around the stalls or shops, but set his sights on the small auction that was about to begin. He had already inquired about it, and the 2-story building was the venue for the auction. He walked closer and saw that it was indeed an exquisite and luxurious 2-story pavilion. In front of the gate of the 2-story pavilion, there were 2 rows of guards wearing black armor. In front of the 2 rows of guards stood a middle-aged man with a refined appearance. No matter who he faced, he always greeted them with a smile. If they did not have a token, he would politely inform them. If they had a token, he would immediately send a maid to lead them in. He was very considerate in his etiquette. Wei Hong stood not far away and watched for a while, and he was a little surprised. Tisk tisk tisk, a master of the 9th level of key training, is actually serving as a receptionist at the door. It seems that the power behind this black market is more powerful than I expected. Wei Hong sighed secretly, and then walked towards the gate of the 2-story pavilion. After approaching, the middle-aged man immediately bowed to Wei Hong and said, "My fellow Taoist, I am honored to meet you. Are you going to participate in the auction?" "Yes." Wei Hong nodded calmly, and then showed the token with the number 136 engraved on it without waiting for the middle-aged man to ask. "Haha, fellow Taoist, please come in quickly. I would like to wish you a successful return." After seeing Wei Hong's token, the middle-aged man immediately smiled and made way for him. After politely congratulating Wei Hong, he immediately ordered a maid to take Wei Hong in. Wei Hong followed the maid leisurely and slowly walked into the pavilion. After entering the gate, he saw an extremely spacious hall in front of him. On both sides of the hall were 2 10-foot-high doors, and opposite the gate was a passage that led to nowhere. After leading Wei Hong into the hall, the maid immediately asked respectfully, "Sir, do you want to appraise the treasure first, or do you want to go directly to the auction house?" "Oh? What if you want to appraise the treasure first?" Wei Hong asked with interest. The maid immediately replied, "If you want to appraise the treasure first, please go to the appraisal hall. There are professional appraisers who are responsible for appraising the treasures for you. If they meet the requirements, they can even be sent to the auction for auction. If you don't have enough spiritual stones and want to exchange some spiritual stones, you can also go to the exchange hall to exchange them. As long as it is valuable, you can take it out for mortgage or exchange." Then the maid was very patient and introduced all the major functions of the auction place to Wei Hong. After listening, Wei Hong nodded slightly, and then ordered, "Let's go directly to the auction house." "Okay, sir, please come this way." The maid led Wei Hong directly to the passage opposite the gate. After passing through the passage, he came to a more spacious hall. The first floor of this hall is arranged with hundreds of seats, forming an oval shape surrounding a high platform. The platform in the center of the hall was made entirely of white jade. In the middle of the platform was a jade table that was more than 10 feet long. On the right side of the jade table was a small white jade hammer. On the left side was a wooden frame, on which hung a small black bell as big as a fist. This hall also had a second floor, which was a series of separate rooms. It was obvious that such boxes were reserved for cultivators above the foundation building stage. Cultivation cultivators were not qualified to go up to the second floor. "Sir, this is the auction house. You can find the corresponding seat according to the number on the token. If there are no other questions, I will take my leave." After bringing Wei Hong to the auction house, the maid explained a few words to him and prepared to leave. Wei Hong nodded and waved his hand. After the maid left, he walked to his seat 136. His seat was slightly to the back on the right, which made Wei Hong, who always liked to keep a low profile, very satisfied. After sitting down, Wei Hong found that more than half of the seats in the auction house were already occupied. There were still many cultivators appearing behind him. Obviously, this auction still attracted many cultivators. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Wei Hong began to carefully look at the monks around him. Although many people who appeared here covered their faces, for some people who made Wei Hong feel extremely dangerous, he still carefully memorized their characteristics and faces, even if it was of little use. Half an hour later, the seats on the first floor of the hall were basically full. At this time, the passage that Wei Hong passed through was directly closed. Behind the white jade platform, 3 people slowly walked out. 2 maids followed behind with trays in their hands. The leader was actually a young woman in a red dress with a charming appearance and a plump figure. The young woman in the red dress slowly walked behind the jade table, then picked up the white jade hammer and gently knocked on the small black bell next to it. Ling! Exclamation mark. Chapter 483 Flying Pet. Ling! A clear and melodious bell sounded throughout the auction venue. Instantly, all the people who were talking shut their mouths, and those who were resting with their eyes closed quietly opened their eyes. The entire auction venue instantly became quiet, and everyone turned their eyes to the high platform in the center. After knocking once, the young woman in the red skirt gently put down the jade hammer in her hand, and then a charming smile bloomed on her face. "Welcome all seniors and fellow Taoists to participate in this auction. I am Nishan, and I am here to greet you." After that, she bowed to the surroundings. Wei Hong frowned and immediately noticed a trace of imperceptible spiritual power fluctuations. At this time, he saw that many cultivators below the late stage of key training revealed fiery and blurred colors in their eyes, and a trace of lust appeared on their faces, as if they were all aroused by the young woman in the red skirt. What a powerful charm! Wei Hong frowned slightly, but sneered in his heart. Of course, there were quite a few monks who noticed the young woman in red skirt using her charm. Many of them frowned, and some even looked unfriendly. Fortunately, the young woman who called herself Nishan quickly put away her charm, and her expression became serious again. At this time, the monks who were tricked woke up one after another, and looked around with embarrassment. Nishan said loudly at this time, "I won't say any more nonsense. Today's auction will be hosted by me. Now I declare that the auction officially begins." Ling! Nishan picked up the jade hammer and knocked it. All the monks present quickly gathered their minds and began to focus all their attention on the auction. At this time, the 2 maids behind Nishan slowly stepped forward, put the plates in their hands on the jade table, and then gently untied the red cloth covering the plates. Nishan immediately introduced, "Seniors, fellow Taoists, the first item for auction today is 2 iron-winged eagle monster eggs. As you all know, an iron-winged eagle can be at least a mid-grade second-level monster when it grows up. Some may even grow to a top-grade second-level monster. Its strength is definitely powerful among the second-level monsters. The most important thing is that the iron-winged eagle has an extremely fast flying speed. As long as these 2 monster eggs are hatched, you can get 2 rare flying pets. Whether you use them yourself or as a family heirloom monster, they are great. Okay, that's enough introductions. The auction begins now. There are 2 iron-winged eagle monster eggs. The starting price is 1,000 spirit stones, and each bid increase must not be less than 50 spirit stones. As soon as Nichen finished speaking, the auction venue was in an uproar. What? The eggs of a second-grade middle-grade iron-feathered eagle. Oh my god, the first lot is so rare. Haha, great, I really did come to the right place at the auction today. I want these 2 eggs, I'll pay 1,100 spirit stones. No one expected that the first lot of today's auction would be the eggs of a second-grade middle-grade demon beast. Such a precious thing naturally attracted the hot eyes of most cultivators. Just as Nishan said, if you use it yourself, you can not only get 2 very rare flying spirit pets, so that cultivators in the key training period can fly, but also have 2 powerful helpers when the 2 iron-feathered eagles grow up, which can completely increase the strength of an ordinary casual cultivator by several times. Moreover, such spirit pets can also be used as family inheritance spirit beasts to add a guarantee to your family. As long as the 2 iron-feathered eagles are raised to adulthood, it is equivalent to having 2 more powerful clan guardians in the foundation building period. In this way, naturally everyone wants it. For a while, various bids were shouted out as if they were free, and in a moment the price rose to 3,300 spirit stones, which made Wei Hong dumbfounded. Good man, this first lot is not brought out by the auctioneer to stir up the atmosphere. Seeing the situation on the scene was so hot, Wei Hong couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He naturally wanted to compete for it, but seeing the price rising layer by layer, he gave up the idea of competing. Now he doesn't have the strength and foundation to buy such a powerful monster egg. Nishan watched many cultivators constantly bidding for the 2 monster eggs, and her face was full of smiles. Okay, this fellow Taoist bids 4,100 spirit stones. Is there anyone who can offer a higher price? Very good, another fellow Taoist bids 4,300 spirit stones. That fellow Taoist bids 4,800 spirit stones. Is there anyone who can offer a higher price? Nishan had a sweet smile on her face, constantly stirring up the emotions of the cultivators present. After a long while, she found that no one continued to bid, so she said, 4,800 spirit stones for the first time. My fellow Taoists, this is an extremely rare flying spirit pet, and when it grows up, it will be a powerful helper for 2 foundation building period people. If you miss this opportunity, it will be hard to find one. 4,800 spirit stones for the second time. Seeing that no one bid any more, Nichen waited for a while and knocked down the jade hammer in her hand. Okay, 4,800 spirit stones for the third time. Let us congratulate the Taoist who bid for these 2 monster eggs. Please go to the backstage for the transaction. After that, the 2 maids behind her took the plates and left the platform. Then, another maid came up with the plates. Now let's start the auction of the second lot. This is the first-grade superb spirit herb blood cloud grass. It is one of the main materials for refining the healing holy medicine jade dew pill. The starting price is 50 spirit stones. The second lot cannot be said to be rare, but it is still much less valuable than the monster eggs of the second-grade middle-grade monster. Sure enough, Wei Hong understood and thought to himself, it seems that the routine of this auction is the same. The first item and the last 2 or 3 items are the rarest things. The reason why the first item is a second-level medium-quality monster egg is to mobilize the atmosphere in the auction venue. Starting from the second item, both the quality and value have dropped a lot. The cultivators who have participated in this kind of small auction many times are naturally well aware of this and do not find it strange. On the contrary, these first-level upper-quality or first-level top-quality materials and elixirs are more popular with most cultivators, so the atmosphere on the scene began to gradually become hot. One item after another was auctioned, including materials and elixirs, magic tools and spiritual herbs and minerals, as well as talismans, etc., which were simply varied and dazzling. At the same time, many cultivators present also showed Wei Hong what it meant to be rich and powerful. As long as it was something they liked, they would bid wildly. An ordinary auction item could often be sold at a price more than twice the market price, which made Wei Hong gradually lose confidence. He secretly thought that these thousands of spirit stones might not be enough to buy what he wanted. Chapter 484, Heavenly Wind Fierce Array. Soon, the auction was halfway through. Nichen picked up a pale green flying sword from the plate. The length of this flying sword was about the same as the palm of your hand. There were some mysterious patterns carved on the surface, and a ray of light was flowing. It looked good. A first-grade high-quality flying sword, the Green Wong sword. This green longsword is mainly made of Kingayu bamboo as the main material. It is a wood-attributed flying sword. Its sharp attack is not inferior to any first-grade high-quality flying sword of any attribute. The starting price of this green longsword is 500 spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 50 spirit stones. After a brief introduction, Nicheng immediately started bidding. Wei Hong, who had been waiting for a long time, was immediately refreshed, thinking that it was finally here. So he raised the sign prepared by the auctioneer without thinking and shouted loudly, 550 spirit stones. This wood-attributed flying sword was obviously the magic weapon that Wei Hong urgently needed, and it was very compatible with his skills and spiritual roots. It was rare to encounter such a suitable flying sword, so he naturally had no reason to miss it. Okay, fellow Taoist number 136 bids 550 spirit stones. Is there anyone who can offer a higher price? Nicheng's eyes lit up and she immediately asked with a smile. 600. 650 spirit stones. 700, I'll bid 700. After Wei Hong, several people followed suit. However, because this flying sword is a wood-attributed magic weapon, its audience is relatively narrow, so there are not many cultivators competing with Wei Hong, and they are more cautious in raising the price. Wei Hong has already understood the competition at this time, so he decisively raised the sign again and shouted, 900 spirit stones. He wanted to scare all the competitors in one breath, giving people a sense of momentum and determination to win. Moreover, he also knew that the market price of a first-level high-quality flying sword is generally between 500 and 800 spirit stones. Now that he has offered a high price of 900 spirit stones, no one should continue to compete with him. As expected, after the price of 900 was shouted out, the scene suddenly became quiet, and the few people who were originally interested in competing also stopped. 900 spirit stones for the first time, is there anyone who can offer a higher price? 900 spirit stones for the second time, if no one bids, this wood-attributed green Wong sword will belong to the Taoist friend number 136. 900 spirit stones for the third time, well, congratulations to that Taoist friend, please go to the backstage to make the transaction. Nicheng shouted 3 times and found that no one continued to bid, so she decisively knocked down the jade hammer in her hand. Okay, it's won. Wei Hong was secretly happy and immediately stood up and went to the backstage to make the transaction. After showing his auction token in the backstage and checking that there was nothing wrong with the green Wong sword, Wei Hong took out 9 medium-grade spirit stones and completed the transaction with the auctioneer. After getting the green Wong sword, he returned to the auction venue. He didn't want to leave immediately, because the final treasure of the auction had not yet appeared. Even if it was just for the sake of gaining experience, there might be something he needed later. Now he has basically bought all the spells, talismans, flying swords, pill recipes, robes and other items, but he still hasn't found a suitable target for the formation. He didn't get anything from the stalls and shops outside before, so he wants to see if there will be what he wants in the auction items later. After returning to his seat, more than 10 items were auctioned one after another. At this time, a maid walked up to the platform with a slightly long plate. Wei Hong narrowed his eyes and saw that there seemed to be an item similar to a scroll under the red cloth. His heart was moved, and he was secretly looking forward to it. Nicheng uncovered the red cloth covering it, and indeed revealed a scroll more than 1 foot long, and it seemed to be the formation scroll that Wei Hong was looking forward to, which instantly cheered him up. As expected, Nicheng introduced directly, "Dear Daoists, this auction item is a first-class top-grade array scroll, named Xiangfeng Hanli Array, which is an array with dual attributes of ice and wind. It has the effect of trapping and killing enemies, and its power is very strong. Even if a general key training late-stage person enters this array, he will lose a layer of skin even if he does not die. Its power will definitely not disappoint you Daoists. The starting price is 1,500 spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 50 spirit stones. The auction begins now." However, when Nicheng announced the start of the auction, the entire auction venue fell into a rare cold atmosphere. Wei Hong's mouth corners shone slightly, and he sneered in his heart. The young woman in the red skirt said some exaggerated things, saying that the power of the array would never disappoint people, but she never mentioned the difficulty of comprehending the array, thinking that she could fool people. You have to know that this is a formation scroll, not a ready-made formation flag. It cannot be deployed immediately like a formation flag. To deploy this heavenly wind cold formation, The cultivator needs to slowly comprehend the formation scroll and then slowly practice the formation deployment. The difficulty is simply not something that ordinary cultivators can accomplish. Moreover, this is a first-class formation, not a first-class formation. The difficulty of comprehending it is much greater than that of a first-class formation. Ordinary cultivators may not be able to comprehend it in their entire lives. This is also the reason why formation masters are so rare, and high-level formation masters are even rarer. This Nishing is wrong to treat all the cultivators as fools. Sure enough, after seeing the cold scene, Nishing's face changed, and even her smile became forced and stiff. Do you really think everyone is a fool? It's already good to have 3 formation masters among these cultivators present. Wei Hong sneered in his heart, and then he became happy, but this is also good, no one should snatch it from me. Such a powerful formation is exactly what Wei Hong requires. It is also a good thing that he can't find outside, so he must buy it this time. Seeing that the atmosphere is getting worse and worse, Nishing hurriedly smiled and encouraged, "Dear Taoist friends, such a powerful formation is rare. It will be difficult to encounter it again if you miss it this time. Aren't you tempted?" Time passed little by little, and many people even began to get impatient. Seeing this, Nishing's face showed a trace of embarrassment and unwillingness. Because if no one bids, this item will be unsold, but no auction house wants to see their items unsold, so Nishing tried to encourage them, but no one paid attention. Seeing that the auction time was about to arrive, although Nishing was a little unwilling, she could only pick up the jade hammer and prepare to knock it down. At this time, a slightly hoarse voice suddenly sounded, 1,500 spirit stones, I want them. This voice was like a rain of grace from heaven, instantly pulling Nishing back to heaven from hell. Chapter 485, Determined to Win. Okay, Taoist number 136 bids 1,500 spiritual stones. Is there anyone else bidding? Wei Hong's bid surprised Ni Cheng so much that she almost lost control of the jade hammer in her hand and knocked it down directly. Fortunately, she reacted very quickly and immediately asked loudly with a smile. At the same time, Ni Cheng couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. As long as someone bids, it's good. Even if it's the lowest reserve price, it's much better than failing to sell. At least she has an explanation. Therefore, Ni Cheng couldn't help but cast a grateful look at Wei Hong's position. But who would have thought that Wei Hong's bid was like a signal, and it immediately attracted bids from several other people. 1,600. 1,650. 1,700. Several more monks appeared one after another to bid. Damn it, it turns out that they all have the same idea. Wei Hong cursed secretly. He didn't expect that there would be several formation masters among these monks present. Moreover, the idea of these array masters was the same as his. They all wanted to wait until the last minute before bidding. This was safer and less likely to attract attention. As a result, Wei Hong took the lead in bidding, directly breaking the tacit understanding between the array masters. Ni Cheng cursed in her heart. She almost thought that this item was going to be unsold. Who knew that those old foxes wanted to auction it at the reserve price? It was really frustrating. Since Wei Hong had made up his mind to completely take down this heavenly wind cold array, he didn't plan to slowly entangle with the other people at this time. He directly raised his sign and shouted, "This uncle bids 1,900 spirit stones." He was once again a posture of being rich and determined to win. For a moment, he really shocked the array masters who were bidding. After all, this heavenly wind cold array was a first-class array. The price of 1,900 must have been a premium, and the difficulty of comprehending it was not low at all, so the other array masters gave up the competition. 1,900 spirit stones for the first time. Are there any other Taoist friends who want to bid? 1,900 spirit stones for the second time. 1,900 spirit stones for the third time. Congratulations to Taoist number 136, please go to the backstage to make the transaction. Nijin shouted 3 times and knocked down the jade hammer in her hand without hesitation, and the Xiangfeng Hanli formation was immediately sold. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction and went to the backstage to make the transaction again. Soon, he returned to his seat again. Wei Hong, who had bid for 2 items in a row, had attracted some people's attention, but Wei Hong ignored it. With his current strength, as long as he was not targeted by a foundation-building cultivator, he didn't have to worry too much, and he had already changed his appearance, and no one could recognize his true identity. so he was not afraid of being targeted at all. As long as he encountered something suitable for him, he had only one principle, that is, to bid when it was appropriate, without worrying about others. So among the next 10 or so items, Wei Hong made 2 more bids. One time, he bought a belt called the 4-Elephant Panlong belt. This belt is a first-class magic weapon, and the inside of the 4-Elephant Panlong belt is inlaid with 4 kinds of strange beads: windproof, fireproof, waterproof, and dustproof. The most important thing is that it can calm the mind and soul, and it has a great effect. In order to get this 4-Elephant Panlong belt, he spent a full 1,200 spirit stones. The last time he made a move was to buy a set of formation flags called the 9 Palaces Falling Stone Formation. This set of formation flags has a total of 9 poles, and the 9 Palaces Falling Stone Formation is also a first-class formation that has the effect of trapping and killing enemies. For this, Wei Hong spent another 300 spirit stones. In this way, his purpose of coming to the black market this time has been fully achieved, and he has bought everything he wanted to buy, which makes Wei Hong feel that this trip is worthwhile. At the end of the auction, it was no longer the maids who appeared on the platform, but 2 foundation-building monks in black robes. After the 2 foundation-building monks came to the platform, they stood on the left and right. Obviously there was something extremely important that they had to protect in order to make people feel at ease. Seeing the appearance of the 2 foundation-building monks, many people were immediately very curious and expectant. At this time, the foundation-building monk on the left touched the storage bag on his waist, and 3 white jade boxes appeared on the jade table in front of Nishan, and then continued to stand still. Okay, fellow Taoists, I guess you've all been waiting impatiently, right? Nishan's expression slightly lifted, then she picked up a jade box, looked around and said, "Now let's start the auction of the last 3 finale auction items." The first item is a 2nd-level low-grade flying sword, named Xiangxing Sword. This sword was forged by the weapon master Qi Yizi himself. It is extremely powerful and a rare treasure. Now I declare that the auction of Xiangxing Sword will begin. The reserve price is 5,000 spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 100 spirit stones. The reserve price of 5,000 spirit stones instantly made the cultivators, who were originally full of enthusiasm, feel like they were poured with a basin of cold water. All their thoughts were directly destroyed in front of such a high price, and they could only stare blankly. Wei Hong also sighed secretly, and had no intention of competing at all. For cultivators like them in the key training realm, this kind of treasure is not something they are qualified to compete for. But for those foundation-building cultivators on the 2nd floor who have been waiting for a long time, this finale auction item is truly worth their shot. 6,500. 6,700. 7,000 spirit stones. I want this heavenly star sword, 7,500 spirit stones. The 20 or so foundation establishment cultivators in the 2nd floor box immediately started a fierce competition, offering high prices one after another. The hundreds of key condensation cultivators on the 1st floor were all stunned by the high prices they offered, because the numbers casually quoted by the foundation establishment cultivators were a huge amount of spirit stones that many people might not be able to earn in their lifetime. At this moment, many key condensation cultivators felt what the real gap was. Wei Hong, however, had been watching coldly, without any thoughts in his mind. He was not like those ordinary cultivators. It was not difficult for him to earn spirit stones. Although this 2nd-level flying sword was expensive, he would definitely be able to afford it as long as he wanted after he was promoted to the foundation establishment stage. At this time, the competition for the heavenly star sword had also come to an end. 8,500 spirit stones, who dares to compete with me? HMPH, old man, you are not qualified to take advantage of your age. I will offer 9,000 spirit stones. Okay, I will remember it. I don't know whether it was because of insufficient funds or because he saw that someone was not intimidated. The old man who made the bid finally gave up the competition. Okay, 9,000 spirit stones for the first time. Are there any Taoist friends who want to bid? 9,000 spirit stones for the 2nd time. 9,000 spirit stones for the 3rd time. Congratulations to the Taoist friend in box 5. We will have someone to complete the transaction with you in the box later. Nishan had a good eye. Seeing that no one continued to compete, she shouted 3 times and then knocked down the jade hammer in her hand, indicating that the Xiangxing sword was successfully auctioned off. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486, Tribulation Cultivation, Formation. Auction House. After leaving the auction house, Wei Hong walked straight to the street in front without thinking. At the same time, he was very emotional. He witnessed the competition for the last 3 items. For those 3 treasures, 20 or 30 foundation building cultivators gave their all, and many key training cultivators saw what madness was. Sure enough, strength represents everything. Without strength, you don't even have the qualifications to compete for an auction item. Wei Hong smiled bitterly and shook his head, walking towards the stall area. Now that the auction has just ended, he doesn't want to leave the black market immediately. Everything must be prepared for the worst. In addition, he had made several consecutive moves at the auction before. Even if he was not targeted, he had to be fully prepared before leaving the black market. And if he was really targeted, he couldn't leave here immediately. Wei Hong thought about it, and while walking slowly, he put on the hood on his robe directly, so that his face was covered. As long as the hood was not lifted, there was no way to see his face directly. After putting on the hood, he began to use the art of disguise, slowly changing his appearance, and at the same time, his body shape was also undergoing subtle adjustments. And Wei Hong was still alert to the surrounding situation. After making sure that no one was following him, he found a hidden corner and changed his sturdy figure into a thin one. After wandering around the black market for more than an hour, he slowly walked towards the exit of the black market. At this time, most of the people who came to participate in the auction have left, right? With this thought in mind, Wei Hong walked out of the passage slowly. Long before walking out of the passage, he had taken off his hood, revealing his disguised appearance directly, and still used the breath-retaining technique to restrain his own breath. At the same time, he also had several talismans in his sleeves on both sides. After making all preparations, Wei Hong decisively left the formation area covering the black market. The forest reappeared in his sight. He looked around and found no trace of other people. Wei Hong thought to himself, we are still near the black market. Even if someone dares to intercept people coming out of the black market, they probably won't dare to do it near here. In that case, I can make some preparations first to prevent any eventuality. Thinking of this, Wei Hong stopped a mile away from the black market. After a careful sense, he found that there was no one else around. So he reached into his storage bag and a set of 9 formation flags appeared in his hand. Wei Hong observed for a while, then decisively picked up a formation flag and shot it out. Whoosh! The formation flag was nailed directly to a giant tree, as if it was naturally embedded in the trunk. Then Wei Hong threw out all the other formation flags one by one and inserted them in different positions. Some were nailed to the tree, and some were inserted into the ground. In short, the position of each formation flag was different, but there was a hint of connection between them. This set was exactly the 9 palaces falling stone formation that Wei Hong had spent 300 spirit stones to buy at an auction. And the positions of the 9 formation flags were exactly the positions of the 9 palaces. After arranging all the formation flags according to the positions of the 9 palaces, Wei Hong immediately made hand gestures, and then muttered something, obviously activating the formation. After a moment, a spiritual power shot out from his hands and hit the formation flags. The 9 formation flags immediately emitted a faint spiritual light, and then Wei Hong walked to the front of the formation eye and put 5 spirit stones into the formation eye. The next moment, an invisible wave flashed by, and the 9 formation flags directly turned into nothingness and disappeared, and the area covered by the 9 palaces falling stone formation also returned to normal. As long as you don't enter the formation area, it is difficult to find abnormalities even if you are right in front of it. After setting up the 9 palaces falling stones formation, Wei Hong breathed a sigh of relief. He just treated as a test of the power of this 9 palaces falling stones formation. It's best if it's not used. I'll come back another day to remove it. If it really comes in handy, I hope you won't disappoint me. He never hesitates to prepare for the worst. The reason why he chose to set up the 9 palaces falling stones formation here at this time is because he is worried that he will encounter a robber cultivator on the way back to the market, so he made some preparations in advance. After all, The news of the opening of the black market and the holding of the auction cannot be hidden, and the cultivators who can come to the auction all have a lot of wealth. In this way, the robbery cultivators who know the news will naturally be eager to move. Wei Hong believes that if there are really robbery cultivators around, they will definitely not miss such a great opportunity. The reason why he lingered in the black market for more than an hour before leaving was because he was worried about encountering a robbery cultivator. Of course, it can only be said that there is this possibility, not necessarily that he will really encounter one, but he cannot be unprepared. It is also possible that the robbery cultivator has set his sights on other cultivators, which is naturally the best result. Although the location chosen by Wei Hong for the formation was less than a mile away from the black market, it was relatively remote, and generally no one would pass by, and there was no need to worry about someone accidentally entering. As long as he could return to the market safely, he could just wait for a while to take back the formation. With this idea in mind, Wei Hong began to return to the market. Along the way, he was full of vigilance and alertness. However, things in the world are often beyond people's expectations. Although Wei Hong did not want to encounter the robbery cultivators, the robbery cultivators did not seem to want to let him go, a fat sheep who was alone. So when he was halfway through his journey, 4 robbery cultivators divided into 2 groups, one in front and one behind, blocking his retreat. When 2 robbery cultivators wearing strange masks appeared from behind the giant tree, Wei Hong knew that this matter today would not be resolved peacefully. Alice, I really encountered it. Fortunately, I am not unprepared. Wei Hong sighed secretly in his heart. For a time, 4 auras locked Wei Hong tightly. Wei Hong paused, looked around with a serious face, then pretended to frown and asked, "What do you mean, fellow Taoists? Why are you blocking me? Hey, what do you mean?" The man in front of him with a ghost mask stepped forward and said with a sinister smile, "No problem, I just want to borrow some spiritual stones from you. The 4 of us brothers have waited for you for so long, I believe you will not bear to let us go empty-handed, right? How about this, you just need to take out 10,000 spiritual stones, or something of equivalent value, and we will let you go, how about that?" As soon as the man with the ghost mask finished speaking, the 4 people in front and behind took a step forward. At the same time, 4 auras burst out, locking onto Wei Hong who was blocked in the middle, as if he would be hit head-on by the 4 people if he made the slightest move. Chapter 487 9 Palaces Falling Stone Array. In the forest, Wei Hong was silent for a moment as he looked at the 4 robbery cultivators blocking the road. 2 are at the 7th level of key training, and 2 are at the 6th level of key training. Haha, they are not weak. Although the 4 auras locked onto Wei Hong, they also exposed their cultivation. Wei Hong seemed a little flustered on the surface, but he quickly calmed down after learning about the cultivation of the 4 people. At the same time, he also learned a piece of information from the ghost-faced man, that is, the 4 robbery cultivators had indeed been waiting here for a long time. Perhaps they were not sure about the previous target, and they did not jump out until they saw him alone. "What? Taoist fellow, you feel embarrassed?" The ghost-faced man's voice suddenly became gloomy. As he said that, he took out a flying sword from the storage bag. The other 3 also stared at Wei Hong with a covetous look, holding a few talismans in their hands, as if they could attack at any time. However, the ghost-faced man did not act immediately. First, they were seeking wealth, and second, they had not found out Wei Hong's true strength. Therefore, for the sake of caution, the ghost-faced man still hoped to force Wei Hong to surrender. His confidence came from his 4 brothers, and he and another person were both in the late stage of key training. Even if Wei Hong's cultivation was 1 level higher than theirs, they were confident that they could defeat him. But Wei Hong chuckled at this time and said, "It's not difficult, but I don't believe in you, the calamity cultivators." After saying that, before the 4 men with ghost faces could react, Wei Hong pointed his finger, and under the surge of spiritual power, 2 solid wooden walls rushed towards the 4 men with ghost faces. At the same time, Wei Hong stomped his feet lightly, and several extremely sharp earth spikes suddenly emerged from the feet of the 4 men with ghost faces, stabbing them fiercely from bottom to top. At this moment, Wei Hong performed several wooden wall techniques and earth spike techniques. The 4 men with ghost faces did not expect that Wei Hong, who was trapped in the middle as a prey, would dare to take the lead. "How dare you? Looking for death?" The faces of the 4 men with ghost faces suddenly changed, and the eyes they looked at Wei Hong became fierce and vicious. The four of them were all shining with spiritual energy, and each of them used their own methods to resist the earth spikes under their feet and the wooden wall that was rushing towards them. But Wei Hong didn't even look at them. He slapped 2 magic runes under his feet and ran away in the direction of the previous formation at a great speed. He knew very well that with the strength of the 4 men with ghost faces, a few wooden wall spells and earth spike spells would definitely not pose any threat to them. His original intention was just to stop the 4 men a little so that he could escape the encirclement. If he wanted to get rid of the pursuit of the 4 men, or even kill the 4 robber cultivators, it would be best to rely on the formation that was laid before, so that there would be no mistakes. I didn't expect that this 9 palaces falling stone formation would really come in handy. Wei Hong was both amazed and grateful at this time. Boom. At this time, there were several loud noises behind him. Wei Hong looked back and saw that the 4 men with ghost faces had avoided the earth spikes and destroyed the wooden wall, and were now chasing him. Boy, you're looking for death? Stop right there, or I'll kill you. Quick, catch up and kill him. The 4 men with ghost faces were furious and kept cursing. When they saw Wei Hong running away, they subconsciously chased him. Because they subconsciously thought that since Wei Hong was going to run away, his strength must not be high, and there were 4 of them, so there was no reason not to chase him. The duck in the mouth couldn't fly away. Oh, come on, you must catch up. Wei Hong sneered and ran quickly towards the direction of the formation. Behind him, the speed of the 4 men with ghost faces was not slow either. The 2 sides were only a few dozen feet apart. If they got closer, the man with ghost faces might be able to launch a flying sword to attack. Wei Hong seemed to have thought of this and slapped another Vajra talisman on himself. Chase? The ghost-faced man behind him saw the round shield emerging from Wei Hong's body, and his face became even uglier. He gritted his teeth and spat out a word, and suddenly exerted his strength to chase Wei Hong. Wei Hong and his 4 figures in front and behind ran quickly through the forest. The ghost-faced man cast spells many times to stop Wei Hong, but Wei Hong easily dodged them. However, the distance between the 2 sides was slowly closing. This was of course the result of Wei Hong's deliberate control, otherwise he might not be able to lead these 4 robbers into the formation. Soon, the area of the 9 palaces falling stone formation appeared in front of Wei Hong. Very good, let's see if they take the bait. Seeing that he was about to enter the formation, Wei Hong first secretly pinched his fingers to stop the formation temporarily to avoid alerting the enemy. Then he pretended that the time for the magic talisman to bless had expired, and his speed slowed down in vain. Hurry, he can't run anymore, hurry up and catch up and kill him. The ghost-faced man shouted excitedly when he saw Wei Hong's speed suddenly drop. For a moment, the 4 of them were attracted by Wei Hong, and they didn't notice that a formation was set up in front of them. Then, under Wei Hong's enticement, they stepped directly into the area covered by the 9 palaces falling stones formation. After the 4 robber cultivators entered the formation, Wei Hong suddenly pinched his hands and completely activated the 9 palaces falling stones formation, and his figure was directly hidden under the cover of the formation. This change made the 4 people who were originally excited by the ghost-faced man suddenly change their faces. What? The ghost-faced man looked around as if he had seen a ghost, and then said with a face full of shock, "Is this a formation? Who set up the formation? Could it be him?" At this time, the original mountain forest scene had long disappeared, and the ghost-faced man was surrounded by yellow mist. He couldn't see outside at a glance. The other 3 people were also like a basin of ice water poured over their heads at this time, and their expressions were panicked and mixed with a hint of shock and anger. At this time, another man wearing a faceless mask said in a deep voice, "Let's go, get out of here." The 4 people suddenly woke up from their dreams, and immediately turned around and returned to the way they came, and then ran away, trying to get out of the range of the formation. But at this moment, a layer of pale yellow round cover appeared behind the mist, completely covering the 4 men with ghost faces, and also completely blocking their retreat. The 4 men with ghost faces took out their flying swords and slashed continuously, but they did not pose much threat to the round cover. Faced with such a dilemma, the 4 men with ghost faces didn't know that they were being tricked by the man who had just chased them. At this time, a slightly sarcastic voice came to the ears of the 4 men with ghost faces, "Since you are here, don't rush to leave, or stay and try out the power of my 9 palaces falling stone formation." In the formation, Wei Hong's voice seemed not loud, but it was a bit rumbling, which shocked the 4 men with ghost faces and changed their faces immediately, and their eyes were filled with fear. Chapter 488. It's better to resolve a feud than to create one. Wei Hong had his hands behind his back, quietly looking at the four people trapped by the formation. However, through the formation, Wei Hong could see the four people inside the formation, but the ghost-faced man and his men could not see Wei Hong outside the formation, and the two sides were immediately in a very different position. After hearing what Wei Hong said, the four people knew that it was their carelessness that led them into the formation, and it would not be so easy to get out. So the four of them turned their heads and looked at each other, and gathered together with their backs to each other. The ghost-faced man looked extremely ugly at this time. He gritted his teeth, but still couldn't help shouting to the outside of the formation, "Fellow Taoist, we have no ill intentions. We just want to borrow some spirit stones from you. Since you don't want to, we won't lend them. We hope you can let the four of us go. Yes, fellow Taoist, it's better to resolve a feud than to create one. There is no grudge between us. It's also because we four brothers are blind. If you are willing to let the four of us go, we are willing to pay you 500 spirit stones to make amends. What do you think?" The man wearing the faceless mask also raised his head and shouted, trying to get Wei Hong to show mercy. But Wei Hong sneered, 500 spirit stones? If I kill you, won't they all be mine? Since you want to make amends, then go to hell to make amends. Wei Hong had no mercy on these evil robber cultivators. After hearing Wei Hong's words, the four ghost-faced men were naturally filled with anger and resentment. Okay, since you want to kill the four of us brothers, let's see if you have the ability to do it. The ghost-faced man laughed in anger, and the flying sword in his hand suddenly turned into a flying rainbow and stabbed at the yellow round cover fiercely. The other three did not say any more nonsense. Since the man outside clearly wanted to kill them, what was the point of saying more? So they also used various means to try to break the formation. Spells, talismans, flying swords. Various means were used one after another, and they kept bombarding the round cover. The round cover was bombarded with ripples, but it was extremely tough and showed no signs of being broken, which made the faces of the four ghost-faced men even uglier. Wei Hong changed his spell at this time, and spiritual power gushed out. The next moment, dozens of black stones as big as millstones suddenly appeared above the heads of the four ghost-faced men. After these stones appeared, they immediately smashed down on the four ghost-faced men like meteorites falling from the sky. "Get out of the way!" The faceless man roared in fear, and then dodged to the side while slapping several talismans on himself. The other three people had no time to attack the round shield. Their expressions changed suddenly. At this time, they used all their methods, and took out all the defensive talismans and magic tools, which turned into layers of shields to support their heads. But at this moment, the soil under the feet of the four ghost-faced men softened at the same time, turning into a swamp, causing the feet of the four ghost-faced men to sink directly, and then they were sucked tightly by the section from below, unable to move at all. This change made the four people, who were already terrified, lose all hope. No. The four ghost-faced men were full of despair. The next moment, dozens of black stones the size of millstones fell like meteorites. Boom! Exclamation mark. The huge noise spread throughout the formation area, but it was blocked by the formation, so Wei Hong outside did not hear any sound, but only saw huge rocks falling down one after another. The shields on the four men with ghost faces did not withstand a few blows at all, and they melted away layer by layer. The four men with ghost faces could only face the bombardment of the huge rocks. "Break it from me." The man with a ghost face was still unwilling to die, and he shouted loudly. While pinching his hands, his spiritual power was injected into the flying sword in his hand like a flood, and then he raised the flying sword and chopped the stone above his head fiercely. The man wearing the faceless mask also knew that it was time to fight desperately, because if they didn't fight desperately, they would have no chance. He first threw out a stack of talismans, then bit the tip of his tongue fiercely, and a mouthful of blood spurted out, immediately turning into a blood knife and chopped it fiercely in the air. The other two naturally did not dare not to fight desperately, and at the same time used the means at the bottom of the box to resist the bombardment of the black stones, so as not to end up being smashed into a meat pie. Boom! The ghost-faced man held the flying sword and smashed two boulders into pieces, but he was unable to resist the third boulder. The blood knife transformed from the faceless man's blood was even more powerful. It smashed 4 black boulders in a row, but was directly blasted apart by the 5th boulder and completely dissipated in the air. The other two key training level 6 robbery cultivators only blocked 2 boulders. When more dense black stones fell, the 4 of them could no longer resist and screamed as they were smashed into meat patties. The ground shook violently for a while. The 2 key training level 7 cultivators and the 2 key training level 6 cultivators were unable to resist for long and were directly smashed into meat patties. The power of the 9 palaces falling stone formation can be seen. Seeing this scene, Wei Hong couldn't help but show a satisfied smile on his face. He couldn't help but say to himself, "It is worthy of being a first-class killing formation. It really didn't disappoint me." The power of this 9 palaces falling stone formation was even beyond his expectations. Of course, this is also directly related to the cultivation and attainments of the person who set up the formation. After waiting for a while, when all the noise in the formation had subsided, Wei Hong slowly walked into the formation and came to the side of the 4 meat patties. Looking at the ghost-faced men and others who had turned into meat patties, Wei Hong did not react. He first walked to the side of several people and collected all the 4 storage bags that had not been damaged. This is his harvest, and there may be unexpected surprises waiting for him inside. After putting away the storage bags, Wei Hong took out a flag with a solemn face. It was the 10,000 souls flag. After getting this 10,000 souls flag, Wei Hong handed it over to the ghost boy to control, which was also to give full play to the power of the 10,000 souls flag, but he had never had the opportunity to use this 10,000 souls flag. Until today, this opportunity finally appeared. He waved his hand, and 9 ghost children also appeared beside him at the same time. "Ghost boy, control the 10,000 souls flag to collect the souls of these 4 people for me," Wei Hong immediately ordered. "Okay, master." The 9 ghost children responded excitedly, and then they dived into the 10,000 souls banner with a whoosh. The next moment, the 10,000 souls banner flew up into the air and floated directly above the bodies of the 4 ghost-faced men. Then an invisible wave rippled through, and the size of the 10,000 souls banner suddenly increased by 2 or 3 times, becoming more than 3 feet high, and then the entire banner began to shake slightly. Chapter 489. The ghost is still there. In the 9 palaces falling rock formation, as the 10,000 souls banner began to shake slightly, a suction force targeting the souls suddenly appeared. Wei Hong naturally didn't feel anything, but a slightly transparent soul slowly emerged from the 4 bodies that had just died. These 4 transparent souls seemed to still maintain their appearance before death, but they all looked terrified at this time and began to struggle frantically. However, under the terrifying section of the 10,000 souls banner, the 4 souls could only be slowly sucked out of the outside world of the corpses, and then flew towards the 10,000 souls banner in the air without any resistance. The 4 souls in the air seemed to know what would happen after being sucked into the 10,000 souls banner, so they all screamed in silence, and even their souls began to shake violently under their frantic struggle. However, such an action was completely futile. The next moment, the 4 souls were completely sucked into the 10,000 souls banner with a whoosh, and the 10,000 souls banner stopped shaking at this time. Then, the 10,000 souls banner, which had absorbed 4 souls, suddenly expanded in size again, and turned directly into a dazzling banner 10 feet high, with the banner surface fluttering without wind. At this time, several ghost faces appeared out of thin air on the banner surface, and the banner surface swayed and fluttered, looking extremely ferocious and terrifying. Moreover, the momentum emitted by the 10,000 souls banner was much stronger than before it absorbed the 4 souls, which made Wei Hong's eyes light up. Sure enough, this kind of magic weapon must rely on absorbing and devouring souls to strengthen itself. It seems that after absorbing the souls of these 4 people, the 10,000 souls banner has improved a lot. At this time, the ghost child flew out of the 10,000 souls banner again. "Ghost child, how is it?" Wei Hong asked. "Master, look." One of the ghost children stretched out his hand and pointed, and the banner surface of the 10,000 souls banner shook slightly, and 4 transparent souls appeared around the 10,000 souls banner. However, compared with before, the eyes of these 4 souls were all dull at this time, and they were obviously completely controlled by the 10,000 souls banner. Moreover, the aura emitted by these 4 souls was only slightly weaker than when they were alive, and they were still considered powerful. The ghost boy explained with a smile, "Master, we absorbed these 4 souls and refined them into the main soul of the 10,000 souls banner. Now the 10,000 souls banner is much stronger than before." "Well, not bad," It seems that it is right to hand over the 10,000 souls banner to you for control." Wei Hong nodded with satisfaction and praised him generously. Then he exchanged a few words with a ghost boy, and then took the ghost boy and the 10,000 souls banner back. After doing all this, he sat down cross-legged directly, and the formation did not mean to stop at all, and it continued to operate. He had consumed a lot of spiritual power when he presided over the formation just now, so he naturally could not leave like this at this time. Instead, he had to use the protection of the formation to restore all his spiritual power first. Wei Hong closed his eyes, and at the same time held a spirit stone in each hand, and began to absorb the spirit stone and the surrounding spiritual energy with all his strength, so that his spiritual power could slowly recover to perfect state. An hour later, Wei Hong opened his eyes. At this time, his eyes became energetic again, and the spiritual power in his body also returned to perfect state. After wasting so much time, it's time to go back. Thinking of this, Wei Hong stood up and prepared to put away the formation. He had wasted enough time, and he believed that there would be no more robbers on the road ahead, so he directly put away the 9 palaces falling rock formation and put all the 9 formation flags back into the storage bag. However, just as Wei Hong was about to leave, a strange wave suddenly flashed by. Huh? Wei Hong's face changed slightly, and the whole person immediately became alert. He quickly looked around, but did not find anything unusual. No? No, corpses. Wei Hong subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief, and then he seemed to suddenly realize something. His body suddenly tense up, and his eyes quickly looked towards the location of the 4 corpses. The 4 bodies that had been smashed into meat patties were slowly moving, and no matter whether it was the broken meat or the broken bones, they seemed to be connected by countless invisible threads. They began to approach each other, and then joined together, so that countless broken bones and meat began to slowly become plump again, and the traces of being smashed by the boulder disappeared. What the hell is this? Wei Hong was stunned. He didn't expect that several people who had been dead would have a tendency to revive again. The next moment, something unexpected happened. The 4 bodies were restored to human form by invisible energy, but the surface was still covered with scars, just like a broken porcelain doll, which looked very weird. And after the 4 bodies stood up again, they staggered towards Wei Hong. At first, they were still a little staggering, but the 4 bodies slowly walked faster and faster, as if they were just adapting to that body, and becoming more and more familiar. Possessed by the weird. Wei Hong's face changed suddenly. How could he not understand that the 4 bodies were clearly possessed by the weird? It's really haunting. After Wei Hong understood the enemy, he immediately calmed down, and then sneered to himself, "What a good idea, you took advantage of me to put away the formation before attacking. Do you really think you can defeat me?" Since he was facing a few weirdos, Wei Hong naturally had nothing to be afraid of. With his current strength and means, it would be no problem to deal with a few weirdos. The simplest thing is to directly throw out dozens of evil killing talismans. Even if there are twice as many weirdos, they will all be killed by the evil killing talismans. But Wei Hong did not do so. Instead, he had other ideas at this time. Let's test their quality first. So he waved his hand, and a wooden wall blocked the 4 corpses. The 4 corpses possessed by the weirdo seemed to have no idea what it meant to take a detour, and they rushed straight towards the wooden wall. Boom! The solid wooden wall covered with thorns was directly smashed into several pieces by the 4 corpses, and then suddenly accelerated to kill Wei Hong. However, Wei Hong was not surprised but happy. He could not help but mutter, "Sure enough, the weirdness with a physical body does not seem to be difficult to deal with. In this case, I will give it a good test." Thinking of this, he threw out 4 thorn talismans, and then urged his spiritual power. 4 half-foot-long half-moon-shaped wind blades slashed at the 4 corpses. The 4 corpses that were running over suddenly stopped, and their eyes were all entangled by a vine covered with barbs and thorns. The vine under their feet was still growing wildly, and the barbs and thorns attached to the vine kept piercing into the corpses, leaving tiny blood holes. The next moment, when the 4 corpses were trapped in place, 4 wind blades slashed at them, bringing an extremely terrifying momentum. Chapter 490, Destroy the Ghost, Mutation. Puff. The 4 wind blades did not directly cut the 4 strangely possessed corpses in half as Wei Hong expected. Instead, they were blocked by an invisible barrier, and after the wind blades hit the invisible barrier, they disappeared directly like a drop in the ocean. The reason why Wei Hong saw that the wind blades hide an invisible barrier was because the air in front of the four corpses began to ripple, just like water ripples, spreading out layer by layer. However, blocking the four wind blades seemed to be the limit of the invisible barrier. When the four wind blades disappeared into the invisible, a cracking sound was heard out of thin air, and the air returned to normal. Tisk, possessing a corpse, controlling the invisible force with a tangible body, it is indeed weird, and it is really difficult. Wei Hong seemed to praise, but his face did not change. The reason why he did not use the evil killing talisman to kill the four weirds immediately was because he suddenly discovered that although the four weirds possessed the corpse and restored the corpse to the appearance of flesh and blood, their real strength was not that strong, so he wanted to test it. Just now, he used the formation to decisively and effectively kill the four men with ghost faces, which made Wei Hong feel a little unsatisfied. In addition, he did not have a good test subject to test the various spells that he had already maxed out to the limit. Now that he encountered these four weirds, he could not help but want to test it. So Wei Hong planned to use various spells to meet the enemy, so as to exercise his proficiency in various spells and the means of tacit cooperation. The four corpses possessed by the weird suddenly roared to the sky, and a layer of black flames ignited under their feet, which immediately burned the thorn vines into charcoal, and then they came to Wei Hong again. At this moment, Wei Hong was less than 3 feet away from the four corpses possessed by the weird. Come on. Wei Hong was not surprised or happy, but shouted in a low voice. He made hand gestures and quickly changed the spells. At this time, as Wei Hong cast the spell, more than 10 extremely sharp earth spikes suddenly rose from the ground, trying to pierce the four corpses that were rushing to kill him. At the same time, several golden threads were quietly arranged on the path that the four corpses had to take. If you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't notice those tiny golden threads. The four corpses that were possessed by the strange were not afraid. They either evaded the earth spikes at a rapid speed or twisted their bodies with extreme flexibility to avoid the attack of the earth spikes. Then the four corpses rushed towards Wei Hong fiercely, wanting to kill him completely. However, the several golden threads that appeared in the air were like sharp swords, and they actually cut all the four corpses that came to kill him in half. The sharpness of the Zhengjin Ling Siju can be seen from this. After cutting off the four corpses, Wei Hong retreated a distance instead of advancing. As expected, the four bodies that were cut in half did not bleed. Instead, they strangely approached each other and then glued together again, turning into flesh and blood bodies again. It seemed that the injuries just now had no effect on the weirdness of the possessed body. Awesome, even the possessed body cannot be completely destroyed. Seeing this scene, Wei Hong frowned secretly. But he would not stop there. Instead, the spells in his hands changed more and more rapidly. As the spiritual power gushed out, there was a sudden thunder in the air. Boom! 4 bull-sized thunder struck out of thin air, making it impossible for the 4 bodies to dodge. Crackling. The 4 bodies hit by the sky thunder technique suddenly had a flash of lightning all over their bodies, and made a crackling sound, accompanied by a smell of a coke. Hiss. Ah! The 4 bodies screamed miserably in an instant. Obviously, for the weirdness possessed in the corpse, thunder magic is definitely one of the spells that can cause damage to their invisible bodies, and such damage seems to be not small. Seeing that the thunder magic has taken effect, Wei Hong's eyes suddenly lit up. Then he waved his hand, and 4 thick earth walls appeared around the corpse. Then under Wei Hong's control, the 4 earth walls rushed out together, like an iron box that was closing. Once closed, the 4 corpses inside would be crushed into meat patties again. At this time, the 4 weirdnesses that screamed miserably all stopped suddenly, and then they all let out a long roar, and then an invisible wave instantly spread out. Bang bang bang. Even the air was shaken into fine ripples, and the 4 earth walls were directly shattered, turning into earth blocks flying everywhere, obviously without any effect. And the invisible wave continued to spread towards Wei Hong after shattering the earth wall. Soul-catching sound. Wei Hong frowned, and immediately recognized the strange unique killing move. However, he was not afraid, but wrapped his ears with spiritual power, and then took out a few talismans and slapped them on himself, causing several protective layers to rise on the outside of his body. Invisible waves rippled past, just like ultrasonic waves. However, with Wei Hong's current 7th level cultivation, and with his spiritual power blocking his ears, the soul-catching sound emitted by the strange had no effect on him at all, but only broke through the several protective layers outside his body. After the soul-catching sound dissipated, Wei Hong's eyes condensed, and he immediately cast multiple spells, various fireballs, wooden thorns, water arrows, thorns, etc., immediately surrounded the 4 corpses that were possessed by the strange. Then Wei Hong kept testing various spell effects, as well as the means of coordination between spells, which can be said to be a variety of tricks, and completely treated the 4 corpses that were possessed by the strange as test subjects. Fortunately, the 4 monsters were very strange, and ordinary spells could not cause any harm to them. After many experiments, Wei Hong found that the spells with the attributes of thunder and fire were the most threatening and harmful to the monsters. It's almost done. We can't delay any longer. Looking at the 4 bodies that were broken but not really killed, Wei Hong muttered to himself. He obviously didn't want to delay any longer, lest there be any unexpected situation. Since the experiment has been going on for so long, it's time to end this battle. So, while the 4 bodies were temporarily trapped by the wooden wall spell and the thorn spell, Wei Hong decisively took out 10 evil-killing talismans from his storage bag, and then threw them towards the location of the monsters without hesitation. After throwing them out, the 10 evil-killing talismans were also directly activated by him. In an instant, it seemed as if 10 small suns suddenly appeared in the forest, and the 10 evil-killing talismans suddenly burst out with an imaginable hot light. At the same time, these lights contained strong pure yang auras, and these pure yang auras actually locked onto the 4 monsters and then enveloped them. Chapter 491 A powerful person in the Jinden stage. Swish. Under the illumination of the 10 evil-killing talismans, the 4 monsters that were originally attached to the corpses suddenly seemed to be ignited. Cry. The 4 broken corpses let out an unimaginable shrill scream. The 4 monsters that were attached to the corpses couldn't escape at this time. Under the cover of the evil-killing talisman, the 4 corpses began to melt directly, just like snow encountering molten iron, and melted directly without any resistance. The 4 monsters only had time to let out a shrill scream, and then turned directly into ashes. Wei Hong's face was slightly relaxed, and he was secretly sighing at the powerful power of the evil-killing talisman. But at this moment, an unimaginable throbbing suddenly came from the mountains and forests not far away. Wei Hong's face suddenly changed, and he subconsciously looked up in the direction of the throbbing. I saw that in the mountains and forests not far away, there was suddenly a rolling black fog. The black fog seemed like a black curtain, which made people unable to see through it at all, as if even the sight was swallowed up by it. Moreover, the thick black fog appeared without any signs, but in a short time, it surged and covered the area that Wei Hong could see. Most importantly, the thick black fog was still surging and spreading wildly, and countless strange figures seemed to appear in the black fog, which was really terrifying. Strange fog. Seeing this scene, Wei Hong's face changed drastically and he shouted. He didn't know at this time that for unknown reasons, the strange fog that was originally not close to the market suddenly rioted and spread wildly, and directly killed the foot of Kingayan Mountain. It was also the strange fog that was constantly surging and spreading that gave Wei Hong waves of unimaginable throbbing. Obviously, this was his soul warning wildly. Once Wei Hong was swallowed by the strange fog, he would definitely die. Escape, must escape back to the market. Wei Hong had only this thought in his mind at this time. His body even reacted faster than his mind. After slapping a few magic talismans on himself, he ran towards the market with all his strength, fearing that if he was a little slower, he would be swallowed by the strange fog and then completely perish. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened again. Hey! A shocking roar suddenly came from Kingayan Mountain, which was not known how far away. That roar was like a huge bell. Not only was the sound earth-shaking, but it was also filled with great power, which actually calmed down the strange fog that was originally surging and rioting. Wei Hong's face turned pale, and the whole person suddenly staggered twice. His mind became much more drowsy, as if the roar sounded in his ears, and even from a long distance, he was greatly affected. He bit the tip of his tongue fiercely in his daze, and the stinging pain made him wake up instantly. Wei Hong hurriedly shook his head, then gritted his teeth and continued to run towards the market. It was hard for him to imagine that someone could have such a terrifying power with just a loud shout. He was just affected by the sound. If he was the target of that loud shout, he didn't know how much terrible damage he would suffer. Thinking this in his heart, his footsteps did not stop for a moment. But before Wei Hong could escape far, a shocking rainbow instantly flew out from Kingayan Mountain, and the target was very clear. which was the turbulent and violent strange fog area. The golden shocking rainbow was so dazzling that it was difficult for Wei Hong not to notice it. The golden shocking rainbow was as fast as lightning and passed over Wei Hong's head in an instant. Golden core stage powerhouse. Such a firm thought flashed through Wei Hong's mind. If he was not a golden core stage powerhouse, it would be impossible to have such power. At this time, the Kingai insect golden core powerhouse who flew over the strange fog area stretched out his right hand and shook his hand lightly. A terrifying sound wave like a substance suddenly spread out towards the strange fog area with a golden core powerhouse as the center. Wei Hong looked intently and could only see that the giant and strong man seemed to be holding a small bell in his hand. Ziyang bell. Wei Hong whispered softly. Obviously, the only thing that could have such terrifying power and was a bell-like magic weapon was the Ziyang bell, the treasure of the Kingai insect. The sound waves that seemed to be real instantly blasted away large tracts of strange fog, and even the strange things hidden in the strange fog were killed. However, the terrifying existence in the strange fog naturally could not allow the Kingai insect giant and strong man to suppress the strange fog at will. At this time, a towering tree suddenly rose from the ground, and while growing rapidly, the giant tree not only became thicker and stronger, but also grew limbs similar to those of humans. The huge area of dense leaves on the top of the tree, like an umbrella, directly changed into a head, and even emerged with facial features. In an instant, the giant tree turned into a giant terrifying tree demon that was thousands of feet tall. Roar! The giant tree demon roared at the giant and strong man in the air, and the sound waves shook the earth and the sky, and actually directly offset the sound of the Ziyang bell, causing the strange fog below to slowly recover. At this time, the head of the giant tree demon, which was 1,000 feet tall, was already level with the giant and strong man. After the roar, the terrifying tree demon suddenly waved two thick tree trunk arms with a diameter of 10 feet, and brought up boundless momentum, as if it wanted to smash the giant and strong man in the air into pieces. Even from a distance, Wei Hong could feel the solemnity on the face of the giant and strong man of Kingai insect. Facing the attack of the giant tree demon, the giant and strong man first shook the Ziyang bell in his hand twice, then turned into a shocking rainbow and instantly escaped from the attack range of the tree demon's arms. While the two tree demon arms were temporarily blocked by the sound of the Ziyang bell, he used a flying sword, and the flying sword swelled against the wind, turning into a giant flying sword of 10 feet in size and slashed at the tree demon fiercely. Facing the slash of the flying sword, the tree demon did not dodge, but stretched out his hand and grabbed it. Countless rocks and soil instantly condensed into a flying knife several dozen feet long in his hand, and then slashed straight at the flying sword. Bang! Boom! The collision between the flying knife and the flying sword was like a meteorite falling from the sky, making a shocking sound. The flying sword in the hands of the giant and strong man of Kingai insect was directly bounced away. Of course, the huge flying knife in the hands of the tree demon did not take advantage, and was directly cut into two pieces by the flying sword, and then fell to the ground. After all, the flying knife was temporarily condensed from soil and rocks, and it certainly could not be compared with a life-saving magic weapon cultivated by the giant and stage strongmen for hundreds or even thousands of years. It was already good that the giant flying knife did not break directly, but it also made the tree monster lose its weapon. However, the giant tree monster did not care at all, and threw the other half of the flying knife with its back hand. After blocking the sound of the purple sun bell with its two trunk arms, it suddenly opened its huge palm and pressed down on the giant and strong man. In addition, dozens of branches 3 feet thick and hundreds of meters long grew on the huge body of the tree monster and whipped the giant and strong man frantically. The terrifying momentum and shocking scene made Wei Hong, who was running away, dumbfounded and horrified. Chapter 492, Tree Demon? Strange territory. Dozens of branches covered the sky, just like long dragons flying in the air, with a terrifying momentum, fiercely whipping the giant and strong man in the air. At the same time, when the tree demon's huge palm pressed down, it seemed that the air was stagnant, and even the sky above Wei Hong's head was covered for the most part, and the sky suddenly darkened. Damn it, this is simply a fight between gods. Wei Hong was so scared that his face was tense, and he dared not continue to watch. He immediately ran towards the market with all his strength, not daring to stop for a moment. At this moment, whether it was the extremely terrifying tree demon or the giant and strong man of Kingai insect, they were all terrifying existences that could make his soul fly away with a wave of his hand. Even the aftermath of the battle between the two was not something Wei Hong could resist. Therefore, He absolutely could not stay outside any longer, otherwise he would probably die inexplicably. As expected, not long after Wei Hong ran away without looking back, there was a violent collision and a series of terrifying noises in the sky behind him, which made Wei Hong feel frightened even from a distance. Fortunately, the black market was not far from the market town, and Wei Hong returned to the market town soon. I'm finally back. After returning to the market town safely, Wei Hong couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Before he came in, he saw that the market town was preparing to close the gate and start the protective formation. Obviously, he didn't want the entire market town to be affected. If he was a little slower, he might not be able to get in. Of course, the market town with a protective formation is definitely much safer than the outside world. This is why Wei Hong returned to the market town. At least it is safe here for the time being, and King Ironman will never sit idly by and watch the market town be destroyed. Half an hour after he returned to the market town, a white light curtain finally rose above the market town. That was the sign that the defensive formation had been activated, which made Wei Hong feel more at ease. At this moment, everyone in the market had already been attracted by the shocking battle in the sky outside. Countless people looked up at the sky, their expressions filled with horror, shock and uneasiness. Everyone knew that the strange fog had spread wildly without any warning, and it was also surging violently. This was definitely not a good thing. It might not take long for the entire market to be swallowed up. Moreover, even the giant and patriarch of King Iron sect was unable to do anything to the tree demon, so you can imagine how terrifying the strange fog was. Oh my god, how did this strange fog spread to the foot of King Iron Mountain? What should we do? Damn it, that tree demon is so terrifying that even the giant and ancestors of King Iron sect can't compete with it. If we step on it, won't the market be completely flattened? What about the other giant and ancestors of King Iron sect? Why don't they work together? What should we do? What should we do? Are we going to stay in the market forever? What if the giant and ancestors of King Iron sect can't kill the tree demon? In every corner of the market, countless people were watching the fight in the sky and talking about it. For a time, the people in the market were in a panic. Everyone was frightened by such a change, and at this time they were like headless flies, at a loss. Many people wanted to flee from this place in fear, and it was best to stay far away, but they were afraid that they might be affected by the battle between the two powerful men after leaving the market, so they didn't dare to leave without permission. What's more, the market has already opened the defense array with all its strength, and it is impossible to go out or in at this time. But it was not reassuring for these people to stay in the market all the time. They were very worried that the tree demon would come to the market. At this time, Wei Hong looked up and could still clearly see the battle between the tree demon and the giant and strong man. The two sides were fighting frantically, and the battle was extremely fierce. However, he could not see who had the upper hand at the moment. He only saw that both sides were fighting hard, and it seemed that they could not defeat each other for a while. Everyone in the market was paying special attention to this fight. After all, it was related to the life and death of everyone. At this time, Wei Hong suddenly heard a slightly old monk not far away muttering with despair on his face, "It's over, it's really over now, the strange domain may appear, and all of us are over." The old monk's muttering was not loud, but Wei Hong's hearing was very sensitive. Every word the old monk said was heard by him. The desperate and collapsed tone in it made Wei Hong's face change immediately. He strode up to the old monk and immediately asked in a low voice, "My fellow Taoist, what is the strange domain you just mentioned? Why do you say we are doomed? Do you know the details of the tree demon?" Wei Hong's heart was originally full of anxiety and doubts. Hearing that the old monk seemed to know something, he could not care so much. It was better to ask for clarification. As long as he knew the identity and details of the tree demon, he could also think of some corresponding countermeasures. The old monk did not expect that his words were heard by others, but his face was still desperate and gray at this time. He did not seem to care about what Wei Hong heard. Instead, he shook his head and said, "What's the use of knowing? In the end, we can't escape death. It's better not to know. Please teach me, fellow Taoist, I will be grateful." Wei Hong's tone was firm, and there was a hint of coercion. At this time, many people around were also attracted by the conversation between Wei Hong and the old monk. The old monk looked at Wei Hong deeply, and then explained with a bitter face, "The tree demon we see now is not a real tree demon, but a weird thing that can transform into a physical entity." At this point, the tone of the old monk became miserable and numb. It is said that this weird thing that can transform into a physical entity is very scary. Not only does it appear and disappear, but every time it appears, it will bring unimaginable blood and rain, and can make the surrounding blood flow into a river. The most important thing is that this weird thing that can transform into a physical entity may also evolve the area where they are located into a weird domain. In the weird domain, all lives will be swallowed by the weirdness and finally become nutrients for the weird domain, unless there is a powerful monk who can break the weird domain. Now that this weird thing that can transform into a physical entity has appeared, the weird domain may also evolve at any time. By then, all of us here will be buried here. Do you think this is the end? The old monk told all the information he knew. When everyone present heard what the old monk said, their faces changed drastically. Many monks looked at each other and found that the people around them had already been frightened out of their wits. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493 The Strange Fog Spreads. Impossible. At this time, a young monk seemed unable to accept such a result, so he immediately screamed, "This is impossible, you must be exaggerating, right? Where did this strange domain come from? Don't scare people." While speaking, the young monk kept looking at the other people around him, as if he wanted to seek the approval of others and then resist the dangerous remarks of the old monk together. However, the old monk did not have any intention of refutation at all, and the sorrow and despair on his face became more and more serious. Seeing this, the other monks around were shocked and doubtful, but they deeply felt the despair of the old monk and dared not disbelieve it for a while. "My fellow Taoist, how did you know this?" Yes, how did you know it? There is a record in that ancient book, why haven't I seen it? Is it true? But why haven't I heard of the strange domain? The tree monster that is 1,000 feet high is also strange? What should we do? More and more monks gathered around, and after learning about the news of the strange domain, everyone was talking wildly. Some questioned, and some believed it. In short, many people were frightened and had no intention of risking their lives to test the authenticity of the strange domain. In that case, we must leave the market immediately, the farther the better. A strong monk called out with a heavy face. Another old man also echoed at this time, "That's right, I don't want to wait until the strange domain really appears, I will leave here now." The old monk seemed to be very angry, and turned around and wanted to leave the market. Many people's faces changed, and they subconsciously wanted to leave with him. However, the young man who questioned the old monk just now sneered and said, "Leave? There are 2 giant-level strong men fighting outside. Even if it's just the aftermath, it's not something we can bear. How can you leave? Aren't you afraid of dying unclearly?" After these words came out, those who wanted to leave this place paused and hesitated, obviously thinking of this problem. Before the hot-tempered old monk could say anything, someone not far away suddenly pointed outside and shouted, "Oh my God, look, what is that?" Many people subconsciously cast their eyes in the direction that person pointed, and then their faces suddenly changed. "What? This is impossible? When did the strange fog spread here? It's over, it's really over now, the strange fog has actually covered us. Why is it like this? Wasn't the strange fog suppressed by the giant and patriarch of Kingayan sect just now? Oh my God, are we really going to be trapped here to death?" After seeing the scene outside, everyone present was extremely panicked. Even Wei Hong's face was solemn and gloomy, and his eyes were full of unspeakable gloom. It was because at this time they could clearly see that large patches of strange fog had begun to appear not far away from the market. The appearance of these strange fogs could be said to be without any signs, but they were overwhelming and terrifying. At this moment, it seemed that the entire Kingayan mountain, the entire Kingayan sect, including the Wei at the foot of the mountain, were all surrounded by strange fog. Wei Hong even guessed that based on the distance they had seen so far, the Kingayan sect within a radius of 100 miles had been completely surrounded by strange fog, just like an isolated island. It would be extremely difficult to escape. No. Seeing this scene, the old monk who was originally preparing to escape from this place suddenly screamed shrilly, as if even the last bit of life had been deprived, so that he almost vomited blood in anger. Many people also showed a trace of despair on their faces. No one expected that the situation would collapse so quickly. For a moment, Everyone was silent with panic and helplessness on their faces. Everyone also fell into a state of helplessness, and had no idea what to do. Wei Hong frowned, and a hint of uneasiness rose in his heart. He couldn't help but look up into the sky again. At this time, the fight between the giant tree demon and the golden elixir master was still going on. The two powerful men fought and clashed with each other, and neither of them seemed to have any intention of retreating. At this time, the dozens of long dragon-like branches on the trunk of the tree demon whipped the giant and strong man again. At the same time, the two extremely long and extremely strong arms of the tree demon actually emitted a green light, and sharp wooden thorns about 10 feet long emerged. Then the two arms like thorns suddenly pressed towards the giant and strong man, and with the help of dozens of long dragon-like branches, it seemed that they wanted to completely surround and trap the giant and strong man to death. Facing the terrifying attack of the giant tree demon, the giant and strong man did not dare to neglect it at this time. He opened his mouth and spit out more ball of blue flames. The flames rose against the wind and took the initiative to meet the arms and branches of the tree demon. Using fire to overcome wood, the response of the giant and ancestor of King insect was obviously not bad, and it seemed that the ball of blue flames was definitely not an ordinary thing. Before it got close, the branches subconsciously shrank. In addition, the giant and strong man once again sacrificed the Jiang bell, turning it into a purple bell and flying over the tree monster's head, then vibrating it fiercely, and immediately emitted waves of terrifying sound waves. This is not over yet. The giant and ancestor of King insect actually threw out a golden talisman at this time. In an instant, the golden talisman turned into thousands of tiny golden flying needles, and then stabbed the giant tree monster fiercely. Compared with the tree monster's killing move, the means of the giant and strong men are obviously not to be underestimated. Talisman treasure. Seeing the golden talisman, Wei Hong subconsciously murmured with a look of surprise on his face. Obviously, the golden talisman was the talisman treasure Wei Hong mentioned. The so-called talisman is not a talisman, but a pseudo-magic weapon made by a giant and master or a Yuanying Zhenren who can cultivate magic weapons. To put it bluntly, it is to seal a part of the power of the magic weapon cultivated by oneself onto a specific talisman paper, so that the talisman paper can become a talisman, so that the powerful power of the magic weapon can be exerted. Of course, the price of doing so is that the magic weapon will be damaged a lot, and it will take dozens or even hundreds of years to restore it, so ordinary monks will never make talismans. Moreover, the power of talismans varies, and is generally directly related to the cultivation of the monk who sealed the talisman. Obviously, the talisman that can make the giant and master of King Ironman treasure, it is definitely not an ordinary thing. As expected, the thousands of golden flying needles were extremely fast, and they were so dense that the tree monster had no way to avoid them, and they were directly pierced into countless fist-sized tree holes. Moreover, that ball of blue flame could be said to ignite and burn anything it touched. In just a few breaths, more than 10 branches were burned to ashes, and it was even spreading to the body of the tree demon. Chapter 494, Fierce Fighting, Forced to Retreat. Boom. The horrible collision even shook the whole sky. The tree demon was not a pushover. It first opened its mouth and screamed, temporarily blocking the sound waves of the Jiang bell. Then, in pain, its eyes suddenly turned red. The remaining dozens of branches actually merged with each other, turning into 4 giant pillars that supported the sky, and the surface was still as green as steel. Then it lashed at the giant and strong man. At the same time, after being pierced by thousands of golden flying needles and leaving countless blood holes, the tree demon fell into a state of madness. White flowers quickly grew on the trunk, and the petals of those white flowers fell all over the sky with a slight shake. When countless petals fell, a faint white pollen also floated around. After those golden flying needles touched those white pollens at this time, their speed dropped greatly and made a sizzling sound. It seemed that the white pollen was extremely corrosive, causing large areas of golden flying needles to be greatly affected. The giant and strong man of King Insect's face changed slightly, and he quickly pinched his fingers to retract all the flying needles, and then turned them into a talisman again, which he carefully put away. Then the giant and strong man pointed with a solemn face, and 2 tortoise-shell-shaped blue shields flew out instantly, firmly protecting the left and right sides of it. Then, there were only 2 loud bangs, and the 4 pillars were blocked. However, the giant and strong man seemed to be unable to hold on at this time. Although the 2 tortoise-shell-shaped shields blocked the whipping of the 4 pillars, the violent shock and the terrifying power that followed still made his face pale, and then he spit out a mouthful of blood. Puff. The giant and strong man waved his hand, and his life plane suddenly turned into a shocking sword light and slashed down fiercely. Swish! One of the arms of the giant tree monster was directly cut off and fell to the ground. Cry! The tree monster couldn't help but scream in pain. Wei Hong was stunned by the fighting and killing at this moment. No one expected that the giant and strong man from Kingai sect and the tree demon would fight each other to draw. Such a result also shocked many people in the market. Just when everyone thought that the battle would continue, who would have thought that the giant and strong man from Kingai sect would turn into a shocking rainbow and fly away in the direction of Kingai Mountain in an instant? The giant tree demon did not try to intercept it again, but instead shrunk its 1,000-foot-tall body directly and turned into an ordinary tree in the forest again, as if the 1,000-foot-tall giant tree had never appeared. The fight between the two sides has also been declared over, ending with a result of both sides being injured. The tree demon and the giant and strong man could not do anything to each other, but both caused the other to suffer considerable injuries, so both sides tacitly chose to stop instead of continuing to fight to the death. However, the cultivators in the market may not understand this, and many people are even quite happy. Haha, that monster tree demon has retreated, so are we safe? Yes, the tree demon has disappeared, it shouldn't appear again, right? Safe, we are finally safe. The giant and patriarch of Kingai sect is really powerful. Then can we leave the market? Since that strange creature has suffered a serious injury, the strange domain should not be derived, right? Everyone was overjoyed when they saw the 1,000-foot-high towering tree disappear, thinking that the crisis was over and they were finally safe. But at this time, someone couldn't help but sneer and reminded, safe? Open your eyes and look, the strange fog around you has not dissipated. Do you think the strange fog will not spread over? These words were like a basin of ice water poured over their heads, making everyone cold. Sure enough, when they looked outside the market, they found that the strange fog around them did not show any signs of dissipating at all, but became more and more dangerous. No, it's impossible. Did the tree demon disappear? Why hasn't the strange fog dissipated yet? The hot-tempered old monk was unwilling to give up. This process from disappointment to hope and then to despair was really unacceptable. No matter what, I must leave here immediately. After a while, the old man suddenly gritted his teeth, and then a trace of determination appeared on his face, and then he walked out of the market without hesitation. At this time, the market was shrouded by a formation, and people could leave but not enter. After the old monk stepped out of the market, he immediately ran madly in one direction. Soon, he disappeared in the strange fog. Everyone in the market looked at the old man's disappearing back for a long time without saying a word, but they were full of expectations. They expected the old man to bring them hope and to escape from the area covered by the strange fog. After all, being trapped in the market only had one way to die, but if they could escape from the area covered by the strange fog, they would have a chance to survive, so there were many brave people who wanted to take a gamble. Unfortunately, the old man disappeared in the strange fog and never appeared again. Is that fellow Taoist alive or dead? What should we do? The sturdy monk who had agreed to escape from this place before now had a gloomy face. Haha, everyone, take care of yourselves. I don't want to be trapped here. At this time, a middle-aged monk in a Taoist robe actually stood up. He looked around and smiled coldly, then left the market without looking back. After him, another group of people left the market and broke into the strange fog. These people were either extremely confident and felt that they could get out of the strange fog based on their own cultivation, or they were brave and didn't want to be trapped here, and felt that they had to give it a try even if there was a great danger. But more people still did not stand still, with a silent look on their faces. Wei Hong had been watching coldly and did not express any opinions. But at this moment, he secretly sneered in his heart, it's really ignorant of life and death. The tree demon was only injured but not killed. Moreover, there are dangers everywhere in the strange fog. A mere key training realm dares to try to break through the strange fog. It's simply courting death. Wei Hong would not do such a stupid thing. He absolutely did not think that breaking into the strange fog would be a promising thing. On the contrary, staying in the market may be trapped, but at least it can be guaranteed in terms of safety. The strange fog will not spread here for the time being. Moreover, even if the strange fog spreads and covers the entire market, that will be a matter for the future. Wei Hong at least has some buffer time to think about countermeasures, instead of directly courting death like those who broke into the strange fog. Let's wait and see. King Guyanman will definitely not have no reaction. With this idea in mind, Wei Hong continued to remain silent. For a moment, the originally noisy market became strangely quiet. Chapter 495, Desperate Situation, Test. No one left. No one spoke. Everyone was waiting silently. There was no need to say more. Everyone knew what they were waiting for. Everyone was waiting for a result that would affect their stay or departure, so no one would choose to leave at this time. The atmosphere on the scene also became quiet. While everyone was waiting, their eyes flashed with different lights. Obviously, they all had their own little thoughts in their hearts. Wei Hong took this opportunity to observe the people around him, and took in the expressions and reactions of many people. In this way, in this silent atmosphere, everyone waited longer and longer. Gradually, many people couldn't help but start to talk in a low voice. Their expressions were full of anxiety, and the disappointment on their faces became more and more obvious. After waiting for 2 hours, there was still no news or information coming back. Those who left the market seemed to be like a drop in the ocean, and there was no news after leaving. At this time, a stall owner who was somewhat familiar to Wei Hong could not help but stand up and said, "We have waited for so long but there is no news. Are we going to keep waiting like this? Will they leave directly after breaking out of the strange fog? Maybe they didn't think of us at all." Another person couldn't help but speculate maliciously. "Since you can't trust others, why don't you go out and try it yourself?" A young monk couldn't stand it and immediately opened his mouth to refute. This statement did not get anyone's response, because these people knew very well that those who left the market before had no news so far, which was definitely not because they had broken out of the strange fog. It was more likely that they had encountered trouble, so there was no news sent back. In this case, who would dare to continue to break into the strange fog? For a while, a panic and uneasiness began to spread in the market. Faced with a mysterious, unknown and dangerous strange fog, no one dared to act rashly. After all, staying in the market can at least survive, but breaking into the strange fog is not certain. Maybe you can really get out, or maybe you will be swallowed by the weirdness the next moment. However, just when everyone was panicking, a stream of yellow light suddenly appeared in the sky above the market. Such a conspicuous move immediately attracted everyone's attention. Wei Hong also looked up and saw a young man wearing the standard inner sect robe of King Guyan sect. This man stepped on a yellow flying sword and looked down at everyone below. "Everyone, I am Feng Heng, an inner sect disciple of King Guyan sect." The young foundation building cultivator named Feng Heng paused for a moment, and then continued to shout, "Now I will break through this strange fog, just as if I can explore the way for you. If I can get out of the strange fog safely, I will send a warning signal to notify you. I have left a soul lamp. If I encounter an accident in the strange fog, the soul lamp will go out by itself. I hope you will take care of yourself then." After saying that, Feng Heng flew out of the market on his sword, turned into a yellow stream of light and rushed away, and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. It was not until this time that the cultivators in the market were in an uproar. "What? Senior Feng is willing to explore the way for us? Senior Feng is so righteous. Haha, thank you, Senior Feng. With Senior Feng's cultivation, it should not be difficult to get out of the strange fog. Senior Feng Heng in the foundation building stage? Haha, it seems that we are saved. We are saved. I didn't expect that Senior Feng would be so righteous. We are so grateful." Looking at Feng Heng's gradually receding back, countless cultivators immediately began to discuss with great gratitude. At the same time, a glimmer of hope rose in the hearts of these people. After all, Feng Heng is a cultivator in the foundation building stage. His strength is much stronger than those people before. Since he is willing to break into the strange fog to explore the way, the hope is naturally much greater. For a moment, the cultivators who were originally panicked and a little uneasy became energetic, and their faces reappeared with joy, and their eyes were full of expectations. It can be said that Feng Heng has now become their last hope. As for why Feng Heng, a cultivator in the foundation building stage, chose to break into the strange fog at this time, the reason is actually very simple. First, as a foundation building cultivator who was in charge of the market in Kingayan Mountain, he had the responsibility to protect the market. Now that the market was trapped and tens of thousands of cultivators were in crisis, he, as the person with the highest cultivation level, naturally had to take the responsibility of exploring the way. Second, Feng Heng was confident that he had a good cultivation level and felt that even if he failed to break out of the strange fog, he should be able to return safely, so he wanted to try to break out. If it was impossible, he would just return. Leaving a soul lamp was actually to reassure everyone. He didn't think he would really die. Just as everyone was talking about it with hope, an outer disciple of King Insect appeared among the crowd with something in his hand. After seeing this, everyone immediately dispersed a little, leaving a square of 10 feet in the center for the outer disciple of King Insect. It was because the man was holding a jade plate, and in the middle of the jade plate was a bronze lamp that looked very ordinary. At this time, the wick of the lamp was burning silently, allowing everyone to see the thumb-thick and 3-inch-high orange flame at a glance. And outside the jade plate, there was a transparent lampshade, which was obviously used to prevent the wind from blowing out the lamp. Obviously, this lamp should be the soul lamp mentioned by Feng Heng. Is this the soul lamp of Senior Fang? Someone asked cautiously. Yes. The outer disciple of King Insect also carefully placed the jade plate on a specially broad wooden table, and then guarded it by the side without moving. After getting a positive answer, everyone looked at the soul lamp with different eyes. Wei Hong frowned slightly, and indeed sensed a trace of soul from the soul lamp. Leaving soul lamps should be a habit of all major sects, right? Wei Hong thought secretly in his heart. From whether the soul lamp is burning or extinguished, one can know whether the person is alive or dead, so the sect usually asks the cultivators above the foundation building stage to leave a soul lamp, so as to judge the life and death of the sect cultivators. Wei Hong secretly admired the Senior Feng Heng in his heart. He dared to break into the strange fog at this time. No matter what he was thinking, at least his starting point was good. But at the same time, he was not optimistic about Feng Heng's result. If the strange fog was so easy to break through, how could countless cultivators change color when talking about fog, and how could even the giant and ancestor of King Insect return to the sect? To be honest, Wei Hong even had a premonition that the soul lamp might be extinguished soon. I hope it won't be as I expected. Wei Hong sighed secretly in his heart. Chapter 496 The soul lamp goes out. King Iron Mountain Market. At this moment, most of the surviving monks in the market gathered around. With the soul lamp left by Feng Heng as the center, everyone gathered around it. At the same time, all the monks' attention and eyes were attracted by the soul lamp. They didn't want to look away even for a moment, fearing that the soul lamp would suddenly go out in the next moment. As time went by, the joy on everyone's faces seemed to gradually spread. It's been an hour. It seems that Senior Feng is fine. Doesn't this mean that there is a great hope to break through the strange fog? Next to the soul lamp, a middle-aged Taoist priest in the late stage of key training couldn't help but say excitedly. As soon as this was said, the other monks also had a happy look on their faces. As the saying goes, no news is the best news. Feng Heng had been gone for more than an hour. Although they didn't receive any news, Feng Heng's soul lamp was burning steadily as always, which meant that Feng Heng was just in a safe state. This was naturally a very gratifying good news. However, Wei Hong's uneasiness became more and more intense at this time. He frowned and stared at the soul lamp, not knowing what he was thinking. At this time, the soul fire that was originally burning quietly suddenly swayed. Huh? What's going on? Everyone present had been staring at the soul lamp all the time, so they naturally discovered the abnormality of the soul lamp at the first time. Everyone's mind was slightly tense, and a trace of nervousness flashed across their faces. They just thought that Feng Heng might have passed through the strange fog, but who knew that the soul lamp he left behind would be abnormal the next moment. All the cultivators around stared at the soul lamp nervously, not even daring to blink. The outer disciple of King Insect next to the soul lamp changed his face slightly, because he knew very well that if the soul fire swayed, it meant that the owner of the soul fire was in danger. If the soul fire calmed down again, it meant that the danger had passed. If the soul fire swayed more violently, it meant that the owner of the soul fire might really be in danger. As expected, in less than 10 breaths, the soul fire covered by the lampshade seemed to be blown by the wind, and it swayed violently from side to side, as if it was blown violently, and the flame was slowly dimming. This scene instantly frightened the outer disciple of King Insect next to him and made his face pale. Could it be that? Could it be that Master Feng encountered a great danger? The outer disciple of King Insect murmured to himself with a pale face, and his eyes could not help but reveal a trace of panic. The monks around him became stunned at this time, and even a little confused. What's going on? What's going on? The middle-aged Taoist priest who had just spoken could not help but question the outer disciple of King Insect. Wasn't it fine just now? Why did the soul fire become like this now? Yes, how could it be like this? Is Senior Fang in danger? No, it's impossible. Senior Fang will definitely be able to get out of this strange fog. No way, with Senior Fang's foundation building cultivation, even if he can't get out of this strange fog, can't he still retreat safely? Shut up, don't talk, what's the point of talking about this now? The change in the soul fire made all the cultivators around nervous, and the joy on their faces turned into tension and uneasiness. For a moment, everyone's hearts, which had been somewhat relieved, were suspended again. Oh no, look, the soul fire seems to be going out. Suddenly someone screamed in panic. Everyone was shocked. They saw without being reminded that the orange soul fire was indeed shaking violently, and then the soul fire quickly dimmed, as if it could go out at any time. Such an unexpected change made everyone extremely nervous. However, no one could stop it. They could only watch and pray madly in their hearts, hoping that the soul fire would not really go out. However, the next moment, the extremely dim soul fire seemed to be blown by the wind, and it went out in an instant with a puff. This scene without any signs made everyone who saw it change their expressions. It's gone? Really gone? The outer disciple of King Gaian sect was struck by lightning, and his face turned pale and muttered to himself. And his eyes lost all the spirit, as if he had lost his mind. No, it's impossible, this is impossible. Oh my god, even a foundation building cultivator like Senior Fang has been killed. It's over, it's completely over now, no one can escape. How could this happen? Why is this happening? Even a foundation building cultivator can't get out. When the strange fog spreads over, won't we all be buried here? The people present were even more panicked and panicked. Everyone couldn't help but shout loudly, some panicked and some unbelievable, as if they couldn't accept such a result at all. Who would have thought that a dignified foundation building cultivator couldn't even protect his own safety? Doesn't this mean that these key training cultivators will definitely die if they enter the strange fog? Such a situation that seems to be doomed to die, such a situation where life and death are unpredictable, how can it not make everyone terrified, even desperate? Wei Hong's face was also solemn at this time. Although he had long anticipated this result, when this result really happened, he still felt a little heavy. After all, he was also in this market, and he couldn't escape no matter what happened. At this time, because Fang Heng's soul lamp was extinguished, the whole market had begun to panic, and everyone was panicking. If the lack of news from the key training cultivators before was just disturbing, then Fang Heng's death instantly magnified the anxiety in everyone's hearts to panic, so that everyone was panicked and had no idea what to do at this time. What should we do? What should we do now? Everyone, think of a way. If this goes on, the strange fog will spread. The middle-aged Taoist looked around with a panicked face, eager to find a better solution. But when he looked at it, almost everyone was silent, with only panic and uneasiness in their expressions, but they had no intention of talking at all. At this time, Wei Hong couldn't help but sneered and said, "Think of a way? What else can we think of? Apart from King Gaiman, who here can solve this problem? Even the foundation building cultivators have fallen into this strange fog. What can we, the key training cultivators, do?" Wei Hong's words seemed to speak out the voice of everyone. At the same time, a ray of light flashed in the hearts of many people who were originally panicked. Chapter 497 Cold-Blooded, Abandoned. Yes, we still have King Gaian sect. After Wei Hong's reminder, such a thought suddenly appeared in many people's minds at the same time. Because apart from King Gaian sect, there is indeed no one who can solve the problem of strange fog. Moreover, this market is at the foot of King Gaian Mountain, and King Gaian sect is on King Gaian Mountain, so King Gaian sect should be the biggest support for them. If King Gaian sect can come forward to solve this matter, then they don't need to worry about it at all. Yes, there is still King Gaian sect, we still have King Gaian sect. The middle-aged Taoist priest shouted with joy after realizing it belatedly, as long as King Gaian sect takes action, even if it cannot dispel the strange fog, it will definitely be no problem to protect the entire King Gaian Mountain. Then won't we all be safe? As soon as these words came out, the monks who were originally panicking seemed to have found their backbone. Yes, the market is at the foot of King Gaian Mountain. There is no reason for King Gaian sect not to take action. That's right, we still have King Gaian sect to rely on. Quickly, fellow Taoist, please send a message back and let your sect take action. That's right. King Gaian sect can't just sit back and watch as cultivators do nothing, right? We are fighting for them with all our heart and soul. Yes, yes, fellow Taoist, please send a message quickly. We have more than 10,000 people here. You Kingayan sect must not sit back and watch. As if grabbing the last straw before drowning, all the cultivators present shouted loudly. Their panic at this time all turned into the last hope, and it seemed that they had found a point of reliance. They all hoped that Kingayan sect could take action to break the situation and solve the crisis of strange fog, so that they could stay in the market with peace of mind. In this short period of time, they went from full of hope to disappointment and then to despair, and finally found that there seemed to be a glimmer of hope. This ups and downs of mood almost drove many people crazy, so Kingayan sect became everyone's last hope. The outer disciple of Kingayan sect, who was guarding the soul lamp, also became the target of many people's urging and questioning. They all asked him to send a message back to the sect. But the outer disciple said bitterly, "Fellow Taoists, I am just an outer disciple. How can I be qualified to send a message to the sect? Besides, there is a giant and patriarch in the sect. What to do is up to them. How can I have any say?" Facing the monks around who might explode at any time, the outer disciple of Kingayan sect could only speak carefully at this time. Otherwise, he would be torn to pieces by those monks who lost their minds because of despair. But his words obviously did not satisfy those monks. The middle-aged Taoist's eyes flashed fiercely, and a trace of ferocity flashed across his face unconsciously. He immediately wanted to step forward and do something to the outer disciple. At this moment, a majestic and pure spiritual power fluctuation suddenly flashed. What's the situation? The middle-aged Taoist who was about to step forward immediately stopped in doubt, and then his face was full of astonishment. Not good. However, the outer disciple of Kingayan sect jumped up as if struck by lightning, and screamed wildly with despair and unwillingness on his face. At this time, everyone realized that something was wrong, and hurriedly looked towards the direction of Kingayan mountain like the outer disciple. In an instant, everyone's face turned pale, as if all the blood color had been lost, and their eyes revealed an unbelievable look. It was because a huge light curtain was propped up on Kingayan mountain. The golden light curtain directly covered the entire Kingayan mountain. Obviously, this was clearly that Kingayan sect had activated the sect protection formation. This was a good thing, and it was also what all the cultivators present wanted to see. They just shouted at the outer disciple in the hope of being blessed by the Kingayan sect protection formation. However, something that made all the cultivators shiver all over happened in front of them. The light curtain formed by the sect protection formation only covered the entire Kingayan mountain, but only excluded the market at the foot of the mountain. The golden light curtain was less than 3 miles away from the market. This 3-mile distance is likely to be the distance between life and death. Those who enter the light curtain of the formation live, and those who are outside the light curtain of the formation die. Obviously, the entire market, including all the cultivators in the market, have become abandoned at this moment, and have been completely abandoned by the Kingayan sect. This is why those cultivators were so unbelievable after seeing this scene. No, the middle-aged Taoist priest also screamed, and even trembled all over because of despair. Impossible, how could the Kingayan sect abandon us? No, it's not like that, I must be hallucinating. It's over, it's all over, we have been abandoned by the Kingayan sect, everyone is waiting to die, ha 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 ha. Ha ha, good, what a Kingayan sect, it's so cold-blooded, completely ignoring me, is this the sect style? This scene completely shattered everyone's hope, and directly pushed every cultivator in the market into the abyss, making them all fall into despair. Therefore, all the monks started to curse crazily, and many of them laughed in anger, obviously feeling extremely disgusted with the behavior of Kingayan sect. Wei Hong's face also changed drastically. He did not expect that Kingayan sect would actually do such a cold-blooded and cruel thing. This is serious. I'm afraid Kingayan sect has been prepared for it. Wei Hong thought secretly in his heart. The current situation is very clear, that is, the strange fog outside is constantly spreading and covering it. It is absolutely impossible to resist it with the protective formation of the market alone, but Kingayan sect has opened the protective formation at this time. The whole sect huddled in the sect, obviously ready to avoid the strange fog. The market and many monks who were not included in the protection range of the protective formation became the objects of abandonment. Even if they think more viciously and cruelly, Kingayan sect may not have the intention of treating them as cannon fodder and sacrifices. Maybe they want to use them as sacrifices to be swallowed by the strange fog in exchange for the safety of Kingayan sect. Among these many cultivators, there were naturally some smart people who could sense the sinister intentions of Kingayan sect. All of these people had cold and gloomy faces, and their anger was soaring to the sky. Kingayan sect, they are treating us as abandoned pawns and cannon fodder. Fellow Taoists, it seems that we are really going to be in danger this time. A cultivator wearing a green robe and a wine gourd tied around his waist suddenly shouted loudly. Once these words came out, the scene that was already like gunpowder was completely ignited. Chapter 498, Riot, Rush to Buy. All the people of Kingayan sect deserve to die. The middle-aged Taoist priest stared at the outer disciple of Kingayan sect like an evil ghost. No, don't mess around. I am also trapped here. I can't go back to the sect at this time. I am the same as you. The outer disciple felt like he was falling into an ice cave when he saw the look in the middle-aged Taoist priest's eyes, and hurriedly opened his mouth to explain. He didn't want to be the target of everyone's anger, and he himself was also very angry, because after the sect protection formation was opened, those who did not return to the sect in time would no longer be able to enter it, unless the formation was closed. This meant that he had also become an abandoned child of the sect. But the middle-aged Taoist priest didn't listen to this explanation at all. With a fierce look in his eyes, he wanted to take action. However, the outer disciple of Kingayan sect was faster. Seeing that the situation was not right, he quickly got into the crowd and disappeared, leaving only the middle-aged Taoist priest with a look of astonishment. That's right, the people of Kingayan sect deserve to die. Let's go find those patrol teams and see what they say. The middle-aged Taoist priest was still furious, and he turned around and called out to everyone. So the followers gathered, and under the leadership of the middle-aged Taoist priest, they began to look for the traces of the patrol team members. But they found nothing after searching for a long time, which made everyone's faces even gloomier. The middle-aged cultivator stared at the direction of Kingayan sect fiercely, gritting his teeth and said, obviously, this is a plan that Kingayan sect had made long ago. Not only have we been abandoned, but Kingayan sect also withdrew all the patrol teams when we were not paying attention. It really deserves to be a big sect, treating us casual cultivators like pigs and dogs. When they found that even the patrol teams were withdrawn to Kingayan sect, the cultivators in the market completely exploded as if gunpowder was ignited. Find the people from Kingayan sect. That's right, Kingayan sect must give us an explanation. Let's go, buy everything we can before others react. Hurry, let's go too, the market is going to be in chaos. Countless cultivators were shouting wildly, or constantly cursing the shameless behavior of Kingayan sect. For a time, the entire Kingayan mountain market was in chaos. Even chaos is not enough to describe the scene in the market at this time. Various scenes that were unimaginable in the past were staged one after another. Some people stayed in place and kept cursing Kingayan sect, some people began to act recklessly in despair, some people began to quietly disperse after realizing that something was wrong, and some people began to take advantage of the chaos. In short, all kinds of chaos were staged. Wei Hong was the one who quietly left when he saw that the situation was not right. He knew that the market would definitely be in chaos next, so he quietly returned to his independent courtyard before the chaos, and then opened all the protective formations. Not only that, the lower middle grade formation of the First Order obviously could not make Wei Hong feel at ease, so he took out the 9 Palaces Falling Rock formation and set it up in the courtyard, completely covering the courtyard. After setting up the formation, he breathed a sigh of relief. More than 10,000 people are trapped in the market. It seems that the market will not only be in chaos, but also fall into turmoil. Fortunately, I am still safe here. With the protection of the 3-layer formation, Wei Hong's place is definitely one of the safer places in the entire market. The chaos in the market is completely foreseeable. Wei Hong does not want to be involved in this chaos that he has no idea when it will end. Sure enough, the market soon became completely chaotic as he expected. Many smart people have begun to prepare for a rainy day, and then rushed into major business stores to buy all kinds of big things. Treasure Pavilion. A fierce-looking monk rushed into the treasure pavilion and shouted to a servant, "Quick, bring me 5 bottles of Kingling pills, 5 bottles of hemostasis and muscle regeneration pills, and 20 fiery sun talismans, hurry up." Before the servant could answer, 3 more monks rushed in from outside the door. Quick, shopkeeper, bring me all the pills and talismans, I want them right away. Give them to me first, I want 10 bottles of key-enhancing pills, and 30 pieces of exorcism talismans and fiery sun talismans. Go get them. Me, and me. I want 50 kilograms of first-grade superior monster meat, and 50 kilograms of spiritual rice. Bring them to me. As soon as the three came in, they shouted at the servant of the treasure pavilion, looking like they wanted to complete the transaction as soon as possible. But the manager of the treasure pavilion stood up and said, "Dear Taoist friends, I am really sorry. From today on, our pavilion will not sell any goods, and we will close soon. I hope you will understand and forgive me." He said very politely, but his attitude was very tough. He did not give the cultivators any chance to say more. 5 cultivators at the peak of key training appeared behind him at the same time. Their aura was vigorous, which made the cultivators change their faces. "Dear Taoist friends, please." The manager extended his hand to see the guests off, his eyes stern. Obviously, the manager of the treasure pavilion was well informed. He naturally knew what the current situation was in the market. Therefore, it was impossible for him to sell anything. Instead, he had to grab all the goods as rare goods. Closing the door to see the guests off, this was the attitude of the treasure pavilion. Facing the powerful treasure pavilion, the cultivators could only retreat unwillingly. Then the treasure pavilion directly closed the door and opened their protective magic circle. Danfu Pavilion. At this time, in this small and medium-sized shop called Danki Pavilion, 4 or 5 monks were crowding in at the same time, wanting to buy elixirs and talismans from the shopkeeper. Facing the aggressive monks, the shopkeeper could only smile and clasp his fists and say, "Dear Taoist friends, I am really sorry, all the goods in this shop have been sold out. Please look elsewhere." The shopkeeper was also a smart man. Although he had not yet closed the shop, he had collected all the goods in the shop in time. At present, the shop was indeed empty. However, the monks with red eyes did not accept the shopkeeper's explanation at all. One of the black-faced monks had a fierce light in his eyes and stood up and said in a deep voice, "Shopkeeper, don't use this to evade us. We just want to buy some elixirs and talismans. It's not that we don't want to pay. Hurry up, we will leave immediately after the money and goods are settled, and we will not stay for a moment." After this, the other 3 people also stared at the shopkeeper with sinister faces. The shopkeeper suddenly felt cold all over, and could only force a smile to explain, "My fellow Taoists, the goods in our store have really been sold out. You all know what the market situation is like recently. There are too many people rushing to buy the goods. I hope you will forgive me." Chapter 499, Riot and Looting. At this time, the shopkeeper couldn't help but feel regretful. He regretted why he didn't close the shop earlier, and actually encountered such a person who seemed to want to rob. If he had closed the shop earlier, this kind of thing would not have happened. But the shopkeeper didn't understand that when the situation developed to this point, it was not possible to keep the trouble out by closing the door. Sometimes the evil of people's hearts could not be stopped by just a door. "Please forgive me." The black-faced man couldn't help but smile coldly and said, "Why forgive me? We just want to buy some elixirs and talismans. Why don't you understand a little bit? Do you look down on us? Yes, do you look down on us? Shopkeeper, please understand a little bit. We will not refuse to pay. Yes, shopkeeper, if you don't sell it to us, we will have no other place to buy elixirs." The other people also sneered or echoed insidiously. At this point, the thoughts of these people have long been exposed. "You guys." The shopkeeper looked panicked, and he couldn't help but shout in a trembling voice, "Don't mess around, we can talk about it, everything can be discussed. What do you want to buy? I'll go to the warehouse to look for it, maybe I can find some." Under the threat of several fierce monks, the shopkeeper obviously didn't dare to be tough anymore. After all, it was just a small shop, and he was the only one left in the shop at this time. The original servant had left. If these monks really wanted to do something bad, he couldn't resist them at all. "Oh? There are still some in the warehouse." The black-faced man first responded with pretended surprise, and when the shopkeeper's mind was slightly relaxed, he immediately sneered fiercely, "In this case, then I'd better go find it myself." Before he finished speaking, the black-faced man had already controlled the flying knife in his hand with a ferocious face and chopped it towards the shopkeeper fiercely. Such an action seemed both unreasonable and expected, and it didn't seem very abrupt. At least that's what the other monks thought. They didn't show any surprise on their faces. The shopkeeper seemed to have expected it. Before the flying knife fell, a layer of yellow shield appeared on his body, protecting it firmly. What are you going to do? The shopkeeper was angry and anxious, and his face had already darkened. If he hadn't activated a diamond talisman in advance, he might have been beheaded now. What are you doing? Do you still need to ask? Everyone, come together. The black-faced man laughed grimly and immediately called on the people behind him to attack together. Swish! Whoosh! The other 3 monks didn't hesitate at all. They even launched the attack before the black-faced man finished speaking. A flying sword shot out with a cold light, a huge fireball fell fiercely, and a thorny vine broke out of the ground, entangled the shopkeeper tightly in place. No. Facing the siege of 4 people, the shopkeeper had no power to resist even if he tried his best. In the end, he could only scream and was completely dismembered. You overestimate your own ability. You don't want to do good business, but force us to take action. After beheading the shopkeeper, the black-faced man took back the flying sword and laughed sarcastically. After that, he looked at the others with vigilance. Obviously, the black-faced man was also worried that the others would suddenly kill him from behind. Fortunately, the other monks were not stupid. One of them said expressionlessly, "Let's go and divide the things in this shop. Everyone can take what they need. You have no objection, right?" The black-faced man looked back and forth, grinned and said, "Of course not. Okay. It should be so." The few people agreed in an instant. Then they quickly searched the entire shop, divided the spoils among themselves, and left immediately. At the same time, the same scene was constantly being played out in every store in the market. Almost most of the monks began to rush to various stores to buy, wanting to buy all the materials they needed in order to deal with the next dilemma. But those shop owners were not fools. Why would they sell goods at this time? They were a group of extremely shrewd businessmen who naturally knew the principle of rare goods being valuable. Moreover, the market was already in chaos. No matter what materials they were, their value would skyrocket. At this time, no fool would choose to sell the goods, even if someone had offered double or even triple the price. And all the shop owner chose to close their doors and windows when they saw the bad situation, and did not dare to face those crazy monks. As a result, they naturally attracted the anger of everyone. "Fuck him, why don't you open the door for business? Are you worried that we won't pay? Okay, you won't open the door, right? Then I'll blow open your door. Since you are so unkind, don't blame us for being unjust, brothers, rob. Haha, if not now, when? Go ahead, rob all these blood-eating shops." Countless monks were either smashing and looting in anger, or taking advantage of the chaos to rob and burn. In short, all kinds of crazy actions seemed extremely common at this moment, and those monks had completely lost their minds. They were already extremely angry and desperate for being abandoned, but now these shop owners dared to close the door and refuse to do business with them. How could this be tolerated? It was like a fire that completely ignited a powder keg. You know, if these monks could buy elixirs, talismans, spiritual rice, monster meat and other supplies, then even if they were trapped here to death, they could at least hold on for a while. But if there were no supplies, these monks who had not reached the state of fasting might not be killed by strange things, but would die of thirst and starvation. How could people accept this? The behavior of these shop owners was equivalent to cutting off the way for the monks to survive. This was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, which directly made the monks in the market completely crazy, and there was no need to consider any consequences. For a time, all kinds of smashing, looting and burning continued in the market. Except for several large shops such as the Treasure Pavilion, which had enough power to deter many monks, the rest of the shops were bloodbathed. Yes, bloodbath. Because those monks who smashed, looted and burned not only robbed and looted goods, but also crazily slaughtered the servants and shopkeepers hiding in the shops. It seemed that this was the only way for them to vent their anger, and they seemed to regard those shop owners as enemies. Not only that, many monks also relied on their own strong cultivation to kill other monks and rob goods, causing the interior of the market to suddenly become a river of blood. In short, the Kingayan Mountain Market has become a complete mess. Chapter 500, Set up a formation and trap one side. The chaos is still going on. It is conceivable that without a strong force entering to suppress or stop it, such a chaos that affects everyone will definitely not be so easy to calm down, and it is not even known how long it will last. At this moment, there are at least 10,000 or 20,000 monks trapped in the Kingayan Mountain Market. The entire market has completely become an isolated island at this time, and no one can enter or leave. In this way, it has become a fantasy to replenish supplies. Therefore, the remaining supplies in the market have become a fixed quantity, and they are completely less if they are consumed a little. However, the 10,000 or 20,000 monks in the market have to eat, drink, defecate and urinate every day. They cannot practice, but they cannot not eat or drink water, and they cannot not heal their injuries. Now that 10,000 or 20,000 people cannot leave the market, the next supplies such as elixirs, talismans, spiritual rice and monster meat will become scarce hard currency, and the prices will definitely rise again and again, and even become unsaleable. In such a situation, who doesn't want to have more supplies? Smashing, looting and burning have become the norm, and they are happening almost every day. Killing and robbing goods is not uncommon. If someone cannot rob a shop, they will choose to rob others. Faced with such a crazy situation, many people have no choice but to choose to survive in groups. After all, if they don't stick together, they are very likely to be targeted, and then they will either be killed or killed in return. Only by sticking together can one greatly increase their chances of survival. However, the chaos in the outside world has nothing to do with Wei Hong at this time, and he did not participate in any robbing. After he returned to the courtyard, it was as if he had entered another world, completely unaffected by the outside world, and able to maintain great security and autonomy. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Wei Hong began to think about his next plan and arrangements. Now that the outside world is in chaos, the market has become an isolated island that cannot be entered or exited. It is no longer realistic to rely on external forces to break the situation. He must think of some ways to deal with it, and at the same time, he must have his own expectations and countermeasures for the situation that may arise next. The market is in chaos now, and we don't know how long it will last. The original order has collapsed. After the chaos, there will definitely be a reshuffle, and then a new order and power will be formed. Wei Hong thought secretly in his heart, after the new order is formed and various forces emerge, a casual cultivator like me will definitely become the target of all parties wooing, but I have no intention of forming a group with others. If I do, I will definitely offend all parties. I must be very careful when dealing with those new forces in the future. But there is no need to worry about these now. I just need to protect myself and then continue to practice. After sorting out all the clues, Wei Hong took out a scroll that was more than 1 foot long. That's right, it was the first level top-grade formation scroll he bought at the black market auction. This formation is called Heavenly Wind Cold Fierce Formation. After taking out the formation scroll, Wei Hong chose to open it without hesitation to comprehend it. Half an hour later, the system sent a prompt, Ling. The first-class top-grade array Heavenly Wind Cold Array was successfully included, and the current proficiency is entry level, 1/100, done. Wei Hong was delighted. He immediately began to add vitality points to the Heavenly Wind Cold Array, and thousands of vitality points were consumed in an instant. Ling. The first-class top-grade array Heavenly Wind Cold Array has plus 100 proficiency, and the current proficiency is Mastery, 1/300, Ling. The first-class top-grade array Heavenly Wind Cold Array has plus 300 proficiency, and the current proficiency is Minor Success, 1/500, Ling. The first-class top-grade array Heavenly Wind Cold Array has plus 500 proficiency, and the current proficiency is Great Success, 1/800. Thousands of vitality points were added, and the Heavenly Wind Cold Array was directly maxed out to the limit. The next moment, waves of complex and profound array knowledge began to pour into Wei Hong's mind. Wei Hong did not dare to neglect it, and hurriedly closed his eyes and began to absorb all the knowledge of the formation. After more than an hour, he slowly opened his eyes. It is indeed a first-class formation. Its complexity is indeed far superior to the first-class formations of the middle and lower grades, but the power has also been greatly improved, especially this Heavenly Wind Cold formation is a dual-attribute formation of ice and wind. The power must be amazing when they are combined with each other. Thinking of the complicated formation knowledge that just appeared in his mind, Wei Hong was extremely satisfied with this Heavenly Wind Cold formation. At the same time, he was also very glad that he bought this formation at the black market auction. Now that the market is in chaos, it is simply a foolish dream to buy this formation. Even if there are more spirit stones, it is not necessarily possible to find a way. Therefore, Wei Hong was able to buy various talismans, pill recipes, formations, magic tools and other resources from the black market before the market was trapped. It was really very lucky and timely. In such a chaotic situation, The killing array heavenly wind cold array is just in use. If someone dares to break into his courtyard, he will let them experience what true despair is. I hope there won't be anyone so blind. Wei Hong sneered in his heart. Of course, at this moment, he has set up a triple array outside this courtyard. Even if someone wants to break in, they may not have such strength. Instead, they may be trapped in the array. Since the heavenly wind cold array has been learned, it is time to get familiar with the array as soon as possible so that it can be put to use as soon as possible. Wei Hong's thoughts turned, and he began to think, the corresponding array plate should also be refined. In this way, it will be more convenient to set up the array, so as not to be unable to deal with emergencies. If you want to set up an array, there are generally two ways: array flags and array plates. Using array flags to set up an array is the most common. You only need to refine the array flags that match the array, and the array master can set up the array according to different terrains or directions. Using array plates to set up an array is actually relatively rare. Because the array plate is easy to refine, but it requires extremely advanced array knowledge to support it, otherwise it is difficult to refine successfully, which poses a great difficulty for ordinary array masters. In addition, the array plate can be used in conjunction with the array flag. With the array plate and the array flag, Wei Hong can quickly set up the array at any time and in any place. In particular, the array plate can be used as the center of the array control, which plays an extremely important role. Thinking of this, Wei Hong began to take out various materials for refining the array plate from the storage bag. Fortunately, I have purchased a large amount of materials for backup during this period, plus the materials found in the black market. I don't lack anything. After selecting the materials for refining the array plate, Wei Hong began to refine the array plate. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.